A frail young boy was pinned to the ground and beaten by a group of thugs, but with just one kick, he sent the human tank-like guy on the other side flying. Then came another punch, knocking the opponent's brain straight into shutdown. All the thugs present were dumbfounded, their whole bodies frozen in place. Luckily for them, they had the advantage in numbers. If they couldn't win one-on-one, they would just swarm him. But the man merely showed off his 58-centimeter arm circumference. With just a single blow, he sent the whole group of thugs spinning 360 degrees in midair. This was no longer a fight, it was a complete and utter one-sided crushing. And this scene also caught the attention of the gang boss on the opposite side. One of his men launched a flying kick straight at Kong Deo. And this man was Choi Chulji, captain of the Taejin Group security unit. But Kong Deo merely twisted his wrist slightly and grabbed his ankle in one motion. The next second, he hurled him over 100 meters away. After taking care of everyone, Kong Deo lightly rolled his neck. "Old man, don't tell me you want to fight me too?" But the old man in front of him looked at Kong Deo without the slightest change in expression. After a while, he took out a bottle of liquor. "Want to have a drink with me?" Kong Deo looked at the old man in front of him. "As long as you're paying, I don't mind." After several rounds of drinks, the old man slowly spoke. "So, for most of your life, you've survived almost entirely by your fists? So now you have no money, no partner, can only live in a rented room, and scrape by on odd jobs, right? You old man, you really know how to rub salt in someone else's wounds." The old man looked serious. "With skills like yours, no matter what organization you were in, you ought to have a place there. You probably don't understand. In this day and age, Fifth stopped talking a long time ago. For someone like me with no background, I don't even have the right to dream." At this point, Kong Deo felt utterly bored and simply lay down on the ground. "This is so damn frustrating. Why the hell do I have to live like this?" Back then, Kong Deo always believed that as long as he was strong enough, he could do anything, and he always thought he could climb to the top with just his fists. But reality had always belonged only to those with money and power. How could an old man like this possibly understand the struggle of someone like Kong Deo? To those people, Kong Deo was nothing more than a nobody they could crush to death at any time. Rising above the rest had always been Kong Deo's dream. He truly wanted his name to spread across the whole world. As long as someone was willing to give him one chance, he would definitely seize everything tightly in his own hands. "Young man, do you mean that as long as you're given a chance, no matter who your opponent is, you can win?" "Of course, I'm a fearless man." The old man's gaze darkened. "What is your name?" "My name is Kong Deo. You'd better remember it clearly." "That's quite a good name. Those old men of the Taejin Group are planning to hold a grand festival before long. Would you like to take part?" Kong Deo smiled faintly. "Forget it, old man. How could those big shots standing at the top ever come looking for me?" But the old man suddenly grabbed Kong Deo's hand. "Opportunity will come looking for you on its own. It will be an opportunity where, as long as you have the ability, you can seize the whole world in your hands." Although Kong Deo had no idea what exactly this old man was talking about, he still sincerely thanked him. After Kong Deo left, the old man calmly gave an order. "Choi Chulji, send an invitation to that young man from earlier. Your expression looks awful. Seems like you really don't like that reckless brat." Still, someone who could defeat the invincible Choi Chulji with just one punch. There was no one in this world more qualified than him to compete. "I never thought I'd hook a big fish in a place like this. Today really was quite a fruitful day." In a secluded place, a large number of gang members had long been waiting for the old man's arrival. Their faces were all filled with fear. "Chairman, we hope you've had a pleasant day." And this old man was none other than Jin Youngwi, chairman of the underworld's largest gang, the Taejin Group. As a man, no matter who he is, he will have ambition. That ambition is to rely on his own strength to grasp the whole world in the palm of his hand. And this is precisely the stage prepared for those beasts who long to rely on overwhelming power alone, and climb upward by stepping on the defeated. All the men under heaven, this is the finest gift that I, Jin Youngwi, have prepared for you all, the invitation to the Man Festival. In the past, the police had launched anti-crime operations many times, but the result was always crushing defeat. It was a dark age for the underworld. Until at last, one man stepped forward and pacified the living hell created by those beasts. And he was known to the world as the Bare-Handed King, Jin Youngwi, supreme leader of the Taejin Group. It could be said that it was precisely because of this man's existence that the entire underworld barely maintained order. However, even someone as powerful as Jin Youngwi still died, and the beasts lurking in the darkness would inevitably appear once again. Inside the Seoul police station, Investigation Unit Captain Kim Ju-young looked extremely grim. And before him, all the team members were silent as well. One of them spoke first. "Then even if we have to borrow the strength of other units, we must find a way to suppress those bastards. But if we really do that, the whole country could fall into chaos." Someone slammed a fist onto the table, but right now was the best time to wipe these people out. At that moment, a man interrupted the argument, saying that what they needed now was a special countermeasure. And this man was Han Young-sik, Commissioner General of the National Police Agency and Chief of Public Safety. More than 40 years ago, when he was still just the leader of a public security squad, he had personally witnessed that struggle. Even the police could not possibly retreat unscathed under so many blades. And in that operation, he was the only one left alive in the end. That man was the one who appeared at that time. That overwhelming power was so strong that it made people unable to even think of resisting. In only a few short exchanges, he took everyone down. Every time he recalled the scene, Han Young-sik became furious to the extreme. He suddenly slammed his fist onto the table. Protecting the people is the duty of the police to begin with. How can you bastards be this weak? Don't forget our duty. To us, the people's safety is more important than anything. Do you think that by eradicating those forces, you can stop a second Jin Yonghui from appearing? Doing that would only sacrifice the greater for the lesser and bring even worse consequences. As for those beasts living in the stinking gutters, let them remain in the darkness. But the moment they dare crawl into the light, we will use the law to send every last one of them to the guillotine. Jin Yonghui, even in death you really did live with earth-shaking grandeur. A man like you probably arranged even what would happen after your death long ago. What kind of gift exactly did you leave behind for this world? After all, Han Young-sik was also a man, so how could his blood not boil because of this? And somewhere in Seoul, Jin Younghui's funeral was being held. A man stepped forward and bowed, and a large number of mourners had already arrived at the scene. A few gang members had a faint cold gleam in their eyes. It seemed the time was already ripe. On the open ground outside, people were already standing packed shoulder to shoulder. The acting chairman of the Taejin Group, 4-star, stood at the front of everyone. First of all, on behalf of the Taejin Group, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to all of you who came to pay your respects. The late chairman once left behind a few words. What is true strength? Really, it is absolutely not bloodline, status, background, or any external condition. The essence of true strength is, 4-star suddenly yanked away the plaque. Only the victor is truly strong. Defeat the opponent in front of you and trample every weakling beneath your feet. Only the man who climbs to the summit is qualified to become Taejin's new master and possess everything. All those who dream of dominating the world, please be sure to inherit the late chairman's final wish. And at this moment, this festival prepared only for real men officially began. Meanwhile, Kang Deo was staring at the delivery order in his hand. That delivery guy still had not arrived even after an hour. That damned bastard. It's just a bowl of jjajangmyeon. Where the hell did he run off to? But at that very moment, a rapid knock suddenly came from the door. The moment the door opened, Choi Chilji was standing right in front of Kang Deo. He slowly reached into his coat. Mr. Kang Deo, congratulations on being invited to participate in the Man Festival. Kang Deo briefly tidied up his things. The participation rules of the Man Festival were simple. No matter what method you used, as long as you arrived at the destination holding the invitation, you would qualify to compete. Just then, a bus slowly came to a stop in front of Kang Deo. After the bus stopped, the door slowly opened. The driver coldly urged him, "Get on the bus, now." Kang Deo slowly walked onto the bus. "You bastard, you really have no manners when you talk." But the scene inside the bus took Kang Deo somewhat by surprise. He saw that everyone in the entire bus had already been beaten flat, and at the very back of the bus sat a man. Clearly, he was the one who had done all this. Kang Deo looked coldly at that man. But right then, the driver suddenly shouted, "Begin." For a moment, Kang Deo had not yet reacted, but a dagger had already thrust straight toward his face. Kang Deo raised his leg and kicked, sending the knife flying straight into the bus ceiling. A trace of excitement immediately appeared on the man's face. "You really are one arrogant brat." The next second, he threw a punch at Kang Deo. But Kang Deo kept both hands in his pockets as his body quickly retreated. Immediately after that, the man pressed forward with the knife again, and the battle between them erupted in an instant. The bus also slowly headed toward the final destination. This is the last number 10 bus. Everyone, get ready. A trace of gravity appeared on Choi Chulji's face. The person on the last bus who needed special attention was the notorious violent debt collector, the evil ghost of Hosan in North Changchang, Chai Suyak. Choi Chulji didn't expect even he would come to participate in the Man Festival. It seems that this time, he will become one of the strongest contenders. Before long, the bus finally came to a halt in front of the crowd. But the next second, the windshield at the front of the bus suddenly shattered. A man flew out like a bullet and slammed heavily onto the ground. This scene directly left everyone present stunned. Because that person was actually Chai Suyak, Kang Deo slowly stepped out from the bus door. Then he raised one leg and directly kicked away the person blocking the doorway. "Glasses, I have already arrived as agreed." He handed over the invitation, hoping he was not too late. And beyond this gate were all the participants in this Man Festival. As soon as the door was pushed open, everyone inside stared at him with fierce expressions. This instead made Kang Deo somewhat excited. He really wanted to see just how interesting this man festival could be. Kong Deo kept both hands in his pockets and slowly walked toward the crowd. A few thugs stared at Kong Deo's back, and their expressions instantly darkened. How is it some little punk? I was told the guy on the final bus was Chai Suyak. Kong Deo turned his head, his face full of disappointment. I thought the people who could really fight would all gather here, but it turned out they were all just a bunch of third-rate nobodies. The thugs instantly flew into a rage. What the hell are you babbling about, you little brat? Are you tired of living? But suddenly, a hand stretched out from the side, and with a single slap sent that thug flying. And the person who made the move was the man right in front of them. This bespectacled man was Wan Taesiab, the boss of the Busan underworld. The thug who had been incomparably arrogant just moments ago was instantly left with nothing but fear on his face after seeing Wan Taesiab. The next second, he turned around and ran. Wan Taesiab turned around and let out a soft sigh. He had originally wanted to warm up before the game started, but that piece of trash did not even qualify to make him act. You brat, it seems you still don't understand the rules here. This isn't a place that a little thug like you can just walk into. Don't you cherish your own life? Even if you don't think for your own sake, you should at least think about the parents who raised you. He actually placed his hand directly on Kong Deo's head. Hurry home, kid. That action instantly darkened Kong Deo's expression, and he flung the man's hand away. Don't bring my parents into this. You bastard who looks like a wild boar, you really speak recklessly. How about I chop off that huge head of yours and put it on the altar as an offering? Wan Taesiab was so furious that the veins on his forehead bulged. The next moment, he reached out directly toward Kong Deo. But at that very moment, a man suddenly grabbed his wrist. The people before them were the Taejin Group's Special Guard Unit, Jioung. Wan Taesiab violently shook off the man's hand. You little bastard, your luck is pretty good. You'd better hope I don't run into you again, because I'll kill you with my own hands. High above in the sky, a helicopter slowly flew in, and the pilot looked at the scene below and could not help but sigh in admiration. All the big names in the underworld are here. This really is quite a spectacular sight. But the other man in the cockpit was full of disdain. Spectacular? In my eyes, they're nothing but a bunch of useless trash. The moment he finished speaking, this man actually jumped straight down from the helicopter. The massive impact instantly sent shattered stones flying across the ground, and a blast of air swept through the surroundings, even directly blowing several nearby thugs away. Amid the swirling dust, the man's figure slowly emerged, and he was none other than One Star, the Taejin Group's top-ranking executive. As everyone looked at the man before them, their bodies began trembling uncontrollably. That's One Star. The pressure coming off him is suffocating. To all of you who have come to Sun Moon Mountain, first of all, I sincerely thank you. As for the rules of the Man Festival, I will only say them once. The Man Festival is a ceremony held to commemorate the late chairman's great enterprise, and the final victor will inherit all of the Taejin Group's assets. The festival consists of 4 stages in total, and the first stage is right here, on Sun Moon Mountain. The rules are very simple. After the gate opens, everyone must enter the mountain. Anyone who leaves Sun Moon Mountain will immediately lose their qualification. When the sun sets, the festival will officially begin. Before that, all of you may find whatever position is most advantageous to yourselves. There are currently more than 200 participants here. When the number is reduced to 20, the first stage will be declared over. Here, all of you may use weapons such as knives and swords, and fight based on your own abilities. But if anyone uses explosives, firearms, or commits any other act that disrupts the situation, they will be executed on the spot. I hope none of you do anything stupid and ruin your own chance with your own hands right at the start of the festival. We, the organizers, possess absolute authority over the interpretation and judgment of all rules. A homeless man roared in anger. I knew it would turn out like this. In the end, it's still all up to you people. Those guys should count as participants too, shouldn't they? Jin Youngwei's 5 sons. Didn't you plan from the very beginning to make one of his sons the final winner? The homeless man wanted to keep shouting, but One Star had already flashed to his side in an instant. With a flying knee, he drove it viciously into the man's abdomen. Then with one large hand gripping his head, he lifted him straight into the air. A nobody like you thinks he's worthy of using words like that to insult the late chairman's dying wish? One Star roared in fury. There will be no exceptions for anyone. He smashed the homeless man hard into the ground, killing him on the spot. One Star restated the rules once more. This contest has nothing to do with background, bloodline, or status. Everyone stands on the same starting line and settles victory and defeat with their fists alone. If anyone wants to keep his life, leaving now is still not too late. But if you are true men, then raise your heads and walk toward the summit of this world. These words of his caused excitement to begin surfacing in the eyes of everyone present. As the great gate slowly opened, this slaughter among men officially began. One Star looked ahead and threw his arms wide. To all who dream of conquering the world, the first act of the Man Festival officially begins. Everyone looked excited and charged forward like mad. Kong Deo slowly let out a breath. Then now, it was finally his turn. From here, he would take the first step toward rising above the rest. In the jungle, a venomous snake slowly slithered by. But Kong Dao grabbed it in one hand. How boring. When is this game actually going to begin for real? And I'm already starving to death. This man festival didn't even provide food? Seriously ridiculous. That made Kong Dao unable to resist turning his attention to the venomous snake in his hand. Just then, two men appeared behind Kong Dao. What's wrong with this guy's head? This mountain is crawling with dangerous guys, yet he doesn't look worried at all. One of them said, we should take him down while we have the chance. Ignore that idiot. Don't expose our whereabouts over some third-rate fool. The one we really need to keep our eye on right now is that man. He gave me the creeps. Every cell in his body was sending him warning signals. As a flare slowly rose into the sky, the pair of brothers, holding knives, quickly closed in on the man. But this man, who had seemed completely motionless, suddenly turned around and threw several punches in a row. This scene made it impossible for the two brothers to believe it. How could this guy's speed possibly be this fast? The man closed in again and with a single punch nailed one of them into a tree trunk. His left fist drew back again, and he unleashed a barrage of blows, sending blood spraying everywhere on the spot. The other man lay on the ground, gasping desperately. But at this moment, the man had already walked behind him. I came here because I heard that all the important figures in the underworld would gather here. I didn't expect that what showed up would just be a bunch of thugs who could fight a little. He raised that enormous fist. Looks like it was even easier than I expected. Taking down the Taijin group is nothing much after all. The man lying on the ground begged desperately, wait, I lost. But the man paid no attention at all and brought his fist down directly. A cold gleam of excitement shone in his eyes. This feeling made him so excited that he roared aloud. That's right, this is it, this is what I want, the most primitive violence. Only here can I truly do whatever I please. This is the real man festival. The commotion caused by this fight also made Kong Dao hurry over. And this man was looking at Kong Dao with a face full of provocation. Kid, want to play with me? Kong Dao glanced at the two men on the ground lying in pools of blood. Then he rolled up his sleeves directly. If you want to fight, I'm happy to oblige. Zhou Minghun licked the blood off his hand, and the excitement in his eyes was impossible to hide. Under the moonlight, a fierce battle was on the verge of erupting. Kong Dao's figure vanished from where he stood in an instant. The next second, he unleashed a sudden kick, as Zhou Minghun twisted his body to dodge. Kong Dao immediately followed up with a heavy punch. His opponent sidestepped, then swung his fist to counterattack. But Kong Dao paid no attention to his punch and continued smashing forward with one of his own. And this heavy punch landed solidly on target. He raised his arm to block. But the force behind Kong Dao's punch was so great that it still shook him back over 100 meters. That exchange just now had not injured him in the slightest. Then this guy raised a boxing stance. So he was a professional boxer. Did you come here because you thought everyone here would be easy to deal with? In the ring, you can't enjoy the pleasure of watching your opponent kneel and beg for mercy, then stomping him to pieces with one kick. It turned out Zhou Minghun was a professional boxer. His strength truly was not weak. His fists connected with Kong Dao time and time again. Yet Zhou Minghun's expression grew increasingly grim. This long-haired thug really was not that simple. Kong Dao punched toward his abdomen, but he acted as if it were nothing and even counterattacked immediately. The force was so great that Kong Dao's arm instantly went numb. Even those super heavyweight boxers could not possibly compare to him in strength. After a brief test of each other, Kong Dao had also made a rough judgment of the other man's strength. Zhou Minghun stared at Kong Dao from a distance. You're just a little stronger than average. I've killed plenty of people like you. The next second, at astonishing speed, he blasted a punch straight toward Kong Dao's face. For a boxer, the shortest time from judging an opponent's attack to making a reaction and completing a counterattack is 0.2 seconds. Among all fighting techniques on Earth, one of the fastest moves is the jab. Zhou Minghun's jab technique was already nearly perfect. Only his jab could break through the human 0.2 second reaction limit. Many times, his opponents had not even reacted before he had already beaten them into total helplessness. And the final result was that the suppressed side could only be forced to maintain a defensive posture. Even if they exhausted all their strength, they could only barely hold on. In Zhou Minghun's past fighting experience, no matter how hard his opponent's defense was, they would always be beaten to their limit in the end. But just when he thought he had already seen victory, he took a solid hit straight to the face. Amid his storm-like offensive, Kong Dao quickly retreated backward. At the same time, the tip of Kong Dao's foot had already braced against a stone. The stone shot out instantly. It struck his head directly. Before he had even regained his footing, Kong Dao charged up again. He broke straight through the defense. Zhou Minghun fell to the ground on the spot. At this moment, even his eyes were beginning to lose focus. The most basic principle of boxing is that when facing an opponent's fist, you must never close your eyes. He clenched his fist tightly, and swung it at Kong Dao once again. But his all-out punch was shattered on the spot by Kong Dao. At the same time, Kong Dao grabbed his wrist in one motion. With only the slightest exertion of force, the crisp sound of bone breaking rang out. An intense pain instantly rushed into his brain. Zhou Minghun collapsed onto the ground and let out a shrill scream. The arrogant and excited look in his eyes from before had now completely turned into fear. Through his blood-soaked vision, the entire sky seemed to have turned red. Wait, spare me. He never could have imagined that in only such a short moment, that very same scene from before would play out again. Except this time, the one kneeling and begging for mercy was himself. Fear completely swallowed his heart. Zhou Minghun turned and ran. Don't come over here. Help! Referee! Referee! I surrender. Somebody stop this madman for me. But this was not a ring. There was no referee who could stop the match. And there was no coach to throw in the towel and surrender for him. In this underworld where the weak are meat and the strong eat, a single defeat meant death descending upon you. And at this moment, Kong Dao's fist had already blasted toward him. That enormous fist struck him squarely in the chest. Zhou Minghun suddenly spat out a huge mouthful of blood. Then his whole body was slammed heavily into the ground. Kong Dao looked at him coldly. Go home and hit your punching bag like a good boy. This isn't a place you should have come to. The people qualified to step into the Man Festival are those who already made their peace with it, and are willing to bet their lives at any moment. Inside the Taijin Group command room, all relevant personnel were closely monitoring the live scene. Elimination in Area 19. The eliminated contestant is former boxing champion Zhou Minghun. Cleanup team, move out immediately. This news instantly lifted everyone's spirits. It was time to start placing bets and see who would ultimately win this Man Festival. One star grabbed a box in one hand. Gentlemen, then I'll place my bet first. I've decided to bet on Chairman's eldest son, Jin Quanmyong, with 10 golden toads. The man beside him set down his teacup. You bastard, you took the strongest one right away. The speaker was none other than 2-star, one of the Taijin Group's top-ranking executives. In that case, I'll bet on the second son, Jin Changho, with 10 golden carp. 3-star of the Taijin Group chose to wait and see. It was only the first round, after all. He had no interest in betting on these minor characters yet. Choi Chulji watched the scene. These old men are at it again. Each piece of pure gold was worth as much as a supercar. But in their eyes, they were as worthless as crackers in a child's hand. 4-star stared at the screen in front of him. Wait, who's that kid on the screen? No idea. Although they've been investigating, they still can't find any information on him. His name is Kong Dao. He used to be a thug, and now he's unemployed. He was personally invited by the late chairman Jin Youngwei before his death. Choi Chulji's words immediately stirred everyone's interest. They had not expected that there was such a person, someone personally invited by the chairman. Suddenly, a burst of hearty laughter drew everyone's attention. Acting Chairman 4-star laughed so hard he could barely straighten his back. Interesting, far too interesting. The next second, he smashed a briefcase with one punch. I've decided. That unemployed thug Kong Dao. I'm betting my entire fortune on him. Bro, you're going overboard again. Please spread your risk a little, will you? The number of golden lions sent out from your house has already exceeded 300. But I think this kid is the surprise the chairman deliberately left behind for us brothers. So now, let us have a good look at just how far this kid can go. Beside a water source stood a clear warning. Water here is not fit for drinking. But one man picked up a bowl of water and tilted his head back to drink it in one gulp. And this man was Hwan Taeseob, the boss of the Busan underworld. But just then, a group of people approached from behind him. Hwan Taeseob, do you remember me? Hwan Taeseob glanced sideways at him. Sorry, I usually can't remember people who aren't as good-looking as me. You really haven't changed at all. Still the same bastard who doesn't know how to respect his elders. A junior can only talk about respecting his elders when the elder is worthy of tolerance. But it was because you barged in with a group of unknown people and disrupted Busan's order that things ended up like this today. The man gripped his baseball bat tightly. You damned bastard. You turn our gang into a bubble overnight. This group of thugs instantly charged at Hwan Taeseob. Today, we're here to take your life. In the blink of an eye, every attack crashed toward Hwan Taeseob's position. But the scene before them made that man unable to believe his eyes. Under an assault like this, Hwan Taeseob remained completely unarmed. Finished with all your nonsense, seniors? His two fists blasted out violently, directly sending every baseball bat flying. And that man finally showed a look of fear. Hwan Taeseob charged forward like a beast. He was laughing wildly the whole time, and his goal was to smash this group of people straight into that huge boulder and kill them on impact. The boulder shattered on the spot. The thugs were all sent flying as well. Without losing momentum, Hwan Taeseob threw a punch at that guy from earlier. But at that moment, a man appeared behind him. So you're Hwan Taeseob, the #1 man in Busan. You really are ruthless. Looks like the rumors weren't exaggerated. Want to fight me? But while he was completely focused on Hwan Taeseob, Kong Dao had already appeared behind him. With a downward axe kick, he smashed him hard on the head. Then Kong Dao followed with a front kick, sending him flying away. But before he could even hit the ground, Hwan Taeseob took the chance to blast him backward with a punch. Amid the dust, Kong Deo stood where he was. "Sorry to keep you waiting. I didn't expect you'd still be alive. I really missed you. You little runt so skinny you'd fall over in the wind." At last, the battle that belonged to the two of them was about to begin. But Hwan Taeseob suddenly raised both hands. He told Kong Deo to make the first move. He was Hwan Taeseob of Busan. If he went all out against a little thug like Kong Deo, it would be too cruel, so he decided to let Kong Deo attack first. That contempt instantly ignited Kong Deo's anger. 3 seconds. "I'll smash your face straight into the dirt. Is that so, you arrogant brat?" The moment Hwan Taeseob finished speaking, Kong Deo had already launched a flying kick, and time began counting down. In Hwan Taeseob's field of vision, Kong Deo's body had already inverted, because he was spinning at high speed in midair. Time reached 2 seconds, and Kong Deo's fist had already gathered power once again. With just one punch, he smashed Hwan Taeseob's head straight into the dirt. Time reached 1 second. Kong Deo threw another punch. Hwan Taeseob's huge body crashed heavily to the ground. And at this moment, the countdown had not even ended yet. The Hwan Taeseob who had been so overbearing just moments ago was now lying in a pool of blood. Kong Deo looked at the fallen Hwan Taeseob. 3 seconds, just right. As Hwan Taeseob lay on the ground, memories began surging up as well. Why had he come to the Man Festival in the first place? Many years ago, inside Busan Technical High School, a man swung the baseball bat in his hand and smashed it viciously onto a student. You bastards really think that just because you showed a little promise, you can stop putting your seniors in your eyes? Your upperclassmen got beaten like dogs in competition, and you little punks still have the nerve to eat like nothing happened? The bat came down hard on those students once again. The students grimaced in pain from the beating, yet did not dare say a single word in protest. Just then, a large hand suddenly grabbed the baseball bat. "Senior, there's something I really don't understand. You useless trash got beaten senseless yourselves, so what right do you have to take it out on them? What did you say? Looks like you little bastard have gone crazy. Did I say anything wrong? Instead of showing off here, why don't you spend that time making yourself stronger first?" Hwan Taeseob's words left all the students present unable to believe what they had heard. The man raised the baseball bat high in his hand. "Today I'm going to beat the hell out of you no matter what." But Hwan Taeseob grabbed his sleeve in one motion, and with an arm trap throw, flipped him straight to the ground. "You pieces of trash were just born a few years earlier than other people. What's so great about that?" And that incident had already happened more than 10 years ago. "Boss, even now I still don't understand. We're the top gang in Busan, and you're the strongest man here. So why are you risking your life just to enter the Man Festival?" Hwan Taeseob picked up the bottle and chugged it in one gulp. Then he smashed the table with one palm. "You're right, I really am the strongest in Busan. But what I truly want is to be the strongest in the whole country. I've always wondered whether a man like me, who calls himself the strongest in Busan, can really beat the strong men from all over the nation. But what if, after joining the Man Festival, you can't come back alive, boss?" Hwan Taeseob smiled faintly. "If I really die, but I get to meet a man worthy of my full strength, then for me, that would also be the coolest encounter of all." Kong Deo looked at Hwan Taeseob getting back up again. He hadn't expected this guy to be so durable. It seemed he really did have some skill. Hwan Taeseob looked grave. "I am Hwan Taeseob of Busan. What is your name?" "What? Are you planning to introduce yourself properly now? Then listen well. My name is Kong Deo." Hwan Taeseob suddenly bowed deeply toward Kong Deo. "Mr. Kong Deo, is it? I'll remember that. For my rude behavior when we last met, I sincerely apologize to you. It was my arrogance that blinded me, making me self-righteously think I was acting in your best interest while trampling on your pride as a man. Please forgive my offense, and please, have one more serious fight with me." Kong Deo looked at Hwan Taeseob and smiled faintly. He accepted the apology. The next second, Kong Deo directly took off his clothes. "In that case, I'll seriously respond to your sincerity as well. Now, show me your full strength." Hwan Taeseob, boss of the Busan Baekdu gang, stands at 6 feet 3 inches and weighs 260 pounds. He once swept through the youth sports festival in judo, and also stood out uniquely in wrestling. His body was truly born for combat, and yet even a powerhouse like Hwan Taeseob was actually defeated. It is truly hard to imagine. However, that unidentified man has already defeated 2 top fighters in a row. He really is a monster who made a stunning impact. So in the upcoming match, who will win and who will lose? Hwan Taeseob suddenly blasted a punch forward, while Kong Deo dodged sideways and punched him in the face at the same time. His huge hand instantly grabbed for the back of Kong Deo's head, while Kong Deo lowered his head and gathered power. The next second, a punch hit him square in the chest. Hwan Taeseob quickly retreated. In the blink of an eye, he followed with a knee strike. Kong Deo raised his hand and blocked his knee. A right hook, a left elbow strike, and then his right fist gathered power once more. But at that moment, Kong Deo suddenly sensed something was wrong. Hwan Taeseob suddenly executed a shoulder throw. But under this heavy throw, Kong Deo actually supported himself against the ground with both hands. Then Kong Deo locked both legs around his head while trapping his arm as well, using an inverted Kimura lock. Under Kong Deo's submission hold, Wan Taeseob let out a furious roar, and with sheer force, he actually lifted Kong Deo up with one arm. He used every bit of strength in his body, to the point that even his eyeballs looked as though they were about to burst out. The next second, he slammed Kong Deo viciously into the ground, and in that position, Kong Deo's head hit the ground directly. That blow also left Kong Deo dizzy and disoriented. Without giving Kong Deo any time to recover, Wan Taeseob threw another kick, and Kong Deo desperately steadied himself in midair. Wan Taeseob charged at Kong Deo at high speed like a completely enraged bull. Between the two of them, a violent collision instantly erupted. The aftershock from their clash made the entire forest tremble. Up to this point in this festival for men, everyone Kong Deo had met had disappointed him, and Wan Taeseob was the first true man Kong Deo had encountered in the Man Festival. This was the purest contest of strength between two true men. Kong Deo launched a flying kick and struck him hard on the chin. The fists of both men also smashed into each other's faces at the same time. What could be called a perfect victory? In the loser's heart, there is often regret and unwillingness left behind. If only I had dodged that move, if only I had used that move earlier. But as long as the loser still has that kind of unwillingness in his heart, then it is not a perfect victory. Strength, speed, technique, strategy, no matter how many times the loser replays it over and over in his mind. Even if he lays out all of his combat power again without holding anything back, he still cannot see even a single possibility of his own victory. Why was he this strong? Like a great tree rooted in the earth, Wan Taeseob simply could not shake him at all. Only when the opponent completely crushes you on every level will the loser be left with no regret at all, not even 1% of unwillingness remaining. In the end, making the opponent truly experience that kind of overwhelming defeat. That is victory through conquering the opponent by strength alone, the so-called aesthetics of power. Kong Deo had already remembered the name Wan Taeseob, and he looked forward to meeting him again someday. And amid this slaughter of the Man Festival, the number of eliminated contestants kept increasing. A Class B criminal, known as the Masan anglerfish, had already been taken care of, and the man shook the machete in his hand. Violent criminals from all over the country had all gathered at the Man Festival. Gangsters, killers, and those rich scum who dared commit evil as long as they had money, and those from the Taejin group who had escaped legal punishment. Tonight, every last one of them would die. After Kong Deo defeated Wan Taeseob, 2 staff members came over to deal with the scene. I really didn't expect this guy to go down like this. Calling the command room, "This is District 12, Wan Taeseob." But before he could finish speaking, Wan Taeseob stood up once again. Wan Taeseob panted heavily, his face covered in cold sweat. This guy's willpower is beyond imagination. Can you still continue? Wan Taeseob struggled to steady himself. Who told you bastards to decide on your own that it was over? I just closed my eyes for a short rest. Don't make such a fuss. The 2 men looked at each other and nodded in agreement to let him continue. After that, they slowly left the place. But Wan Taeseob watched their backs as they gradually disappeared into the distance. Then he dropped to both knees and began coughing violently. The next second, he suddenly spat out another huge mouthful of blood. This man let out an unwilling roar. How could I possibly fall here? Elsewhere, several fully armed police officers were studying a map. This is Owl. We've arrived at the destination. Falcon, do you copy? This is Falcon. Communications are currently normal. We are approaching the target location. After dropping the supplies, we will return. As the transmission ended, the supply materials also rapidly fell toward the ground. Delta, Chameleon, you 2 are responsible for recovering the supplies immediately. Everyone else, proceed at once to your assigned sectors and ensure control of all target areas. During movement, all personnel must conceal their tracks as much as possible. In the event of an emergency, immediate gunfire is authorized. From this moment on, all living criminals in this mountain are to be executed. As the order was given, several special operatives quickly spread out in all directions. In a patch of forest, a powerful stream of water struck against a tree trunk. Kong Deo shuddered all over. That was unbearable. I almost pissed myself. There isn't even a toilet in this damn place. At my age, do I really have to experience taking a shit outdoors? Damn it, I don't want to get chopped to death by a bunch of knives while I'm squatting halfway through. At that moment, a dagger was already pressed against Kong Deo's neck. Blood splashed into the air. Inside a police station, a man was sitting at his desk. The OWL Special Operations Unit could not publicly exist. It was a secret team dedicated to carrying out special missions. And the Man Festival being held right now had gathered criminals from all over the country. It could be said that this was the best possible opportunity for them to show what they could do. A man slammed his fist on the desk. Doing this would go against the commissioner's orders. That would be extreme disloyalty. But if it is for the sake of public safety across society, then we must complete this operation. you need not worry. Will use this man festival to wipe out every scum in society, root and branch. High above in the sky, a flash grenade fell rapidly downward. The next second, it exploded right in the middle of the men. The blinding flash made everyone cover their eyes, and Kong Deo temporarily lost his vision as well. One of them immediately raised his dagger in defense. You cowardly bastards, come out here if you've got the guts. But the moment he finished speaking, his head was already separated from his body. The Owl Squad was a 5-man elite unit selected from the Mobile Detective Force after brutal training. Each member's individual combat ability was enough to take on an entire gang head-on. And their captain is named Lee Gun-woo. Long time no see. Do you still remember me? Under the moonlight, the two men's gazes met for only a brief instant. Yet after just that single brief clash, Gu Gangcheol had already felt his life rapidly slipping away. The next second, his body exploded apart. In a sense, Lee Gun-woo was a powerhouse standing on an entirely different level. Inside the Taejin Group command room, things had already descended into chaos. The monitor feed for Area E7 had suddenly failed, and an unidentified helicopter was approaching the skies above Sun Moon Mountain. Choi Chulji slammed his fist onto the table in fury. I knew the police wouldn't just stand by and do nothing, but I didn't expect them to interfere with the Man Festival this directly. This is no different from declaring war on us. All Geoan Reserve members, head to that area and eliminate these rule breakers. But suddenly, a voice came from the crowd. That won't be necessary. A cold gleam flashed in One Star's eyes. I'll handle this myself. An all-team member looked toward the helicopter in the sky. Falcon, we've reached the target point. The dropped weapons and ammunition have also been confirmed. Understood. Return immediately according to the planned route. But at that moment, another helicopter unexpectedly flew in from the distance. The next second, an iron chain had already wrapped itself around the entire helicopter. From the other helicopter, a figure leaped down, gripping the other end of the chain in his hand. The arm wrapped in chains suddenly exerted force. That helicopter was actually flung straight toward the ground by him. Before the shocked eyes of the two OWL members, a violent crashing sound came from the forest. The helicopter wreckage lay silently on the ground. The pilot had not even understood what had happened, but One Star's figure had already appeared before his eyes. He was actually holding the helicopter's tail section. What is he trying to do? Even if it's only a light helicopter, that's still impossible. But the next second, the entire helicopter was actually lifted up by One Star through brute force. An enraged roar burst from his throat, and then he smashed the helicopter back down onto the ground once again. That sight left the two OWL members utterly unable to believe it. Was this the power of One Star, one of Jin Youngwei's 4 trusted lieutenants? At this moment, One Star was consumed by fury. You dared to defile the Sacred Man Festival. Now I'll take care of all of you myself. Seeing the terrifying One Star before them, the all team members immediately drew their pistols. At that very moment, One Star clenched that enormous fist and charged straight at them. The two members instantly opened fire, but One Star slammed his fist into the ground. He had actually used the rising dust to block their sight, continuing to advance through the gunfire. Keep firing. He has nowhere left to run now. But what they had not expected was that this tower-like man was unbelievably fast as well. In an instant, he swung the iron chain and lashed it toward one member's neck. The giant arm wrapped in chains gave a fierce yank, pulling that member straight in front of him. That enormous fist instantly smashed into the man's head. The terrifying force contained in that punch blasted the member away like a cannonball. The other man stared at the scene before him in utter shock. But in the next moment, the chain had already flashed past his body. One Star's massive frame descended like the Grim Reaper, charging at them once again. At this moment, that member had completely lost the will to fight. This man was simply impossible to defeat. But that life-taking chain lashed out again, striking him directly across the back. He screamed in despair, "Captain, save me." Lee Gun-woo heard the cry for help through his earpiece as well. Another member also received the message at the same time. One Star's presence has been confirmed on the other side of the mountain. Delta is already dead, and Chameleon appears to be seriously wounded. Mission update. Rescue Chameleon immediately. Captain, but the enemy is One Star. That man is the strongest among the strong. Killing intent filled Lee Gun-woo's eyes. No matter what, we have to win. His figure darted rapidly through the forest, rushing toward the target location at full speed. Finally, he seemed to catch sight of Chameleon. Chameleon was already badly wounded, and before him, several thugs were charging in with blades in hand. "You little bastard, I finally caught you. I'm going to avenge my boss." But before he could finish speaking, Lee Gun-woo's dagger had already sliced across his throat. That sight instantly changed the expressions of the remaining thugs. But before they could even react, the dagger had already cut across their throats as well. Chameleon looked at Lee Gun-woo, his consciousness already beginning to blur. Lee Gun-woo immediately stepped forward to support him. "Don't talk, or the bleeding will get worse." But Chameleon handed his pistol to Lee Gun-woo. "Captain, I can probably only go this far. Please make sure you complete the mission." Seeing this, Lee Gunwoo could not help feeling his throat tighten. All-member Chameleon, you did well on this mission. Leave the rest to me. Lee Gunwoo slowly laid Chameleon down on the ground. Come out, trash hiding in the dark. From the darkness, Kong Dao's figure slowly emerged, and in his hand, he was carrying another team member. That was pretty dangerous. This guy's seriously rude. He actually tried to stab me from behind while I was taking a piss. That team member spoke weakly. Captain, I'm sorry. I failed to complete the mission. Kong Dao looked at Lee Gunwoo sitting on the ground. I really didn't expect you people to still have the leisure to come running to a place like this. But Lee Gunwoo seemed not to hear his words at all. Kong Dao could not help clicking his tongue. He threw the team member onto the ground. Hurry up and get lost with this guy. This is not a place you should be interfering in. If you want to live, go back right now. Lee Gunwoo finally responded. Enough. Stop saying this pointless crap. You're just a bunch of social trash. What gives you the right to lecture me? As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly flung the dagger at Kong Dao. With both hands still in his pockets, Kong Dao easily dodged it. You lunatic, I spared your life and you still don't appreciate it. Kong Dao raised a hand and knocked aside the dagger flying toward him. But suddenly, he sensed something was wrong. That knife had only been bait. What he really intended to use was the pistol. Since he had drawn the gun, that meant he had never intended to leave anyone alive from the start. But that kind of thing was not a weapon fit for a man's duel, so Kong Dao had no reason to hold back anymore. Just as Lee Gunwoo was about to fire, Kong Dao kicked him in the wrist. But a thread was actually attached to Lee Gunwoo's hand, connected to the dagger that had flown out earlier. In an instant, the dagger returned to his hand. At the same moment he caught the dagger, he dipped low and evaded Kong Dao's punch. But in the next second, Kong Dao grabbed both of his wrists in one motion. Lee Gunwoo twisted his wrist, reversing his grip on the dagger. The next second, the dagger stabbed straight into Kong Dao's arm. The intense pain instantly twisted Kong Dao's expression. But in the next moment, the pitch-black muzzle of the gun was already pressed against Kong Dao's forehead. The gunshot echoed through the entire forest. But Kong Dao forcibly closed the distance in an instant. At the same time, a heavy punch drove straight into his abdomen. His other hand also seized the arm holding the gun. With the arm that still had the dagger stuck in it, he threw another punch into his abdomen. But suddenly, Lee Gunwoo's palm actually caught Kong Dao's fist. He lifted his leg in a flying kick. Kong Dao quickly pulled back. Lee Gunwoo raised his gun to aim once again. But suddenly, a dagger flew over and knocked the gun off target. It turned out that at the critical moment, Kong Dao had pulled out the dagger embedded in his hand and thrown it. He braced himself with one hand on the ground, forcibly steadying his body. But this guy had already begun firing wildly at Kong Dao. Amid the hail of bullets, Kong Dao could only dodge at high speed, and his best option now was to use the forest as cover. Lee Gunwoo quickly chased in the direction Kong Dao had fled. There are only 4 bullets left. I can't afford to waste them on some nameless thug. At the very least, I have to save them for the most dangerous moment. When I'm facing that monster, 1 star. Suddenly, he heard rustling sounds from the surrounding woods. A man charged rapidly toward him. Lee Gunwoo raised his gun and aimed. A gunshot rang out, and the man died on the spot. But strangely enough, even though he had already been killed, his corpse, propelled by tremendous momentum, slammed straight into Lee Gunwoo and knocked him to the ground. And Kong Dao's figure had already appeared behind him. That sight made him instantly realize something was wrong. You despicable. But before he could finish speaking, a fist had already smashed into his face. You little punk, don't waste that handsome face of yours in a place like this. Leave here and go become an idol. Gunwoo, why do you dream of becoming a police officer? In that violent incident, he had been nothing more than a young child, yet he had already been attacked by a gang. And the reason Lee Gunwoo dreamed of becoming a police officer was, of course, to completely wipe out all evil forces. In the blink of an eye, Lee Gunwoo seemed to have regained all his strength. Both his hands suddenly clamped onto Kong Dao's shoulders. A flying knee struck Kong Dao squarely on the chin. He reached for his pistol again. Kong Dao lunged forward fiercely and grabbed his wrist. Yet in the end, he still failed to stop him from getting the gun. Under his restraint, Lee Gunwoo fired 3 shots into the air. All I can say is that I was still too arrogant. Faced with an enemy like this, I actually made such a careless judgment out of underestimation. The dagger in his hand stabbed straight into Kong Dao's thigh. Under the intense pain, Kong Dao instantly let go of his wrist. He raised the gun and pointed it at Kong Dao's head. Under this sky, only I am true justice. He pulled the trigger, but the gunshot he expected never came. Kong Dao got up and swung a punch. What? Out of bullets. A gunshot rang out. It struck Kong Dao in the shoulder. Damn it, there's actually another person. Damn, it only grazed his shoulder. Lee Gunwoo roared, shoot, now, kill him. But if we fire at this distance, Captain, you'll be in danger too. We should retreat immediately. Bastard, if I tell you to shoot, then shoot. Kill every last piece of scum in this mountain. But suddenly, a large hand had already clamped around his throat. In the blink of an eye, Kong Dao slammed him hard to the ground. You lunatic, are you trying to get your own subordinate killed too? When facing evil forces, ethics and morality must be cast aside entirely. That guy actually pulled out a flash grenade. The flash grenade exploded instantly between Kong Dao and Lee Gunwoo, and the blinding light briefly blinded both of them. Along with several gunshots, the two of them fell together into a stretch of river water. In the chaos, this guy actually used a rear chokehold on Kong Dao. I'm going to kill you, you piece of society's trash. Kong Dao could tell that this guy had completely lost his mind. His hand clamped onto his arm. Lee Gunwoo simply could not believe that Kong Dao had forcibly broken free of the rear choke through brute strength alone. Do you still not understand? In water, how could a dirty choke like this possibly work on me? Besides, you're not even as strong as I am. In an instant, Kong Dao had already broken free from his restraint. When an object crashes into the water's surface, as long as the speed is high enough, the impact in that instant is no different from hitting a concrete wall. And that blow made Lee Gunwoo spit out a mouthful of blood on the spot. The Taejin Group's 4 top-ranking executives and Jin Youngwei's 5 sons were all people Lee Gunwoo had always wanted to execute with his own hands. But now, his dream came to an abrupt end under Kong Dao's fist. Evil forces? If I really am that kind of person, then come and take my life anytime you want. But don't bring toys like this. Just then, One Star's figure suddenly appeared behind Kong Dao. Old octopus head, I took care of your business for you, so shouldn't you at least buy me a bottle of cold beer? Kid, forget that for now. Hand over the weapon in your hand immediately. You mean this? Kong Dao suddenly turned around and pointed the gun at One Star's head. I refuse to give it back. If you've got the guts, come take it yourself. Old man, even now, do you still want to take this toy back? Kong Dao raised the pistol high. If you really want it, then take it. He directly hurled the pistol at One Star. One Star raised a hand and caught the incoming pistol. In the blink of an eye, Kong Dao's fist smashed into his face together with his palm, and that punch forced One Star back several steps. At that moment, several men in black suddenly rushed out from behind Kong Dao. You insolent bastard, how dare you lay hands on Lord One Star? Today we'll eliminate you in the first act. Those words instantly twisted Kong Dao's expression. He let out a roar and directly shook them back. The use of firearms and explosives is strictly forbidden. Those were the rules you set, so what the hell is this supposed to be now? The people who broke the rules are somehow still acting this arrogant. Gunfire was already coming at Kong Dao from all directions. Even his shoulder was struck by a bullet. Just a little closer, and he really would have gone to meet his ancestors. It's because useless old men like you are so incompetent. The chance I waited so hard for was almost ruined by all of you. Every single one of you here, come apologize to me right now. Several birds flew across the black night sky. For a moment, the whole scene fell into dead silence. One Star turned to look at the others. Those who violated the rules have all been executed. You may withdraw now. But suddenly, a hand grabbed him by the collar. Old man, I already told you just now, apologize to me. Didn't you hear me? What kind of look is that? I'd say you're already used to looking down on other people with those contemptuous eyes. If I beat the hell out of you right here, would that finally make that neck of yours, stiff as stone, bow down? Seeing the scene, Gyoki completely lost it. How can there be someone this reckless? Do you even know what those words you just said mean? One Star stared at Kong Dao, his eyes wide with fury. This guy actually still dares to be this arrogant in front of me, without the slightest trace of hesitation. Or is it that he has absolute confidence in his own strength, not even 1% of doubt, so arrogant that he looks down on everyone? A person like this is the true one and only under heaven. One Star could not help grinning. This is really interesting. Why do I feel a king's aura coming from this country bumpkin? Decades ago, on Sun Moon Mountain, inside a temporary US military base, a post-war friendly match was being held. A man was viciously slammed to the ground. And at that very moment, the whistle marking the end also sounded. The winner of this duel was Sergeant Simpson, the undefeated legend from Texas. With this, Team US had reached a record of 19 wins in 19 matches, and the defeated side trembled in anger all over. Team US wore arrogant expressions. It was clearly only a friendly match, but by now, they could no longer find any opponent at all. But at that moment, a soldier was suddenly kicked flying. This sight shocked everyone present. The figure of a man slowly appeared. You friends who came from so far away really are impatient. If it ends this quickly, that'd be way too boring. Right now, there's only one person who wants to fight you, and this man was none other than the unemployed Jin Youngwei. And from behind a group of soldiers, another man slowly stepped forward. This man was Marine Corps Captain Tyrone Kim, who was now one star of the Taejin Group. Jin Youngwei looked at Tyrone Kim before him. You're really huge. You look like you can fight. And Tyrone Kim looked at Jin Youngwei with utter disdain on his face. But Jin Youngwei directly grabbed him by the collar. Open your eyes wider. Who gave you the nerve to look at me with that kind of contempt? That provocation instantly ignited Tyrone Kim's anger. You little punk, how dare you be this insolent? And the great battle between the two men was on the verge of erupting at that very moment. That scene from the past was now being reenacted once again. The instant their fists collided, one star was shaken into retreating several steps in a row. And at the very same time, Kong Dao's fist was hit with a sharp, numbing pain. At the moment their fists made contact, Kong Dao had instinctively pulled back a little. How could this old man be so strong? One star looked at Kong Dao and actually smiled. The fact that he actually smiled means this duel has already reached a level that people like us can no longer interfere in. The blood of battle inside one star was completely ignited, and in excitement he swung the iron chain in his hand. I really didn't expect you to be able to take my punch. Looks like you're even tougher than I thought. The moment he finished speaking, he swung the chain viciously at Kong Dao. And the iron chain in his hand seemed almost alive, rapidly coiling in for the kill toward Kong Dao. Kong Dao charged straight into the attack. In that case, I'll start by smashing that head of yours first. But one star suddenly flicked his wrist. The chain instantly changed direction on the spot. The chain suddenly changed direction on the spot and lashed hard across Kong Dao's back. That blow nearly split Kong Dao's eyes wide open. This thing can actually change its attack path. One star's face was full of excitement as he flicked his wrist again. And this time, the chain struck Kong Dao heavily across the waist. Damn it, this bastard's chain is completely impossible to dodge. The chain danced like a silver serpent, and churned like a raging dragon. And for the moment, all Kong Dao could do was evade in a sorry state. The real problem is the trajectory of that chain. No matter how I dodge, I still can't escape its attacks. Looks like my only option is to retreat into the woods, so he won't be able to swing the chain freely. This was the most typical tactic. After all, this place was a mountain forest dense with trees. If someone swung a weapon blindly and hit an obstacle, the rhythm of the attack would be interrupted immediately. But that situation only applied to fragile ordinary people. To one star, even those thick, sturdy trees could be smashed apart on the spot. This was an attack with nowhere to run. An offensive like this left almost no room for resistance. At last, Kong Dao found a flaw. Although one star's movements looked dazzling and chaotic, there was only one final point where the chain would land. As long as, before contact, he kicked it off course with one strike, that would be enough. One star swung the chain again. I didn't expect you to actually kick it away. A chain that missed its target would inevitably return to its master, and Kong Dao seized that instant to rush right in front of him. That sight made even one star's expression change in an instant. In the next second, Kong Dao raised one hand high, and what he aimed at was the chain's weakest connecting point. The chain snapped on the spot, and that very moment became Kong Dao's perfect chance to counterattack. One star's eyes filled with disbelief. Among thousands of chain links, there was only one rusted spot caused by poor welding. Yet Kong Dao had found that flaw in such a short time and broken it with a single strike. Before one star could even recover, Kong Dao had already sent him flying with one punch. You damned old man, you were actually planning to rely on a weapon to win. And this scene left all the surrounding members of the Taejin group utterly dumbfounded. After the chain broke, one star's expression turned completely grim. It's been a long time since something like this happened. I can't believe someone actually landed a punch on my face. Kid, thank you for giving me such a satisfying duel. What's your name? Old man, that expression on your face now is a lot more polite. Kong Dao took off his shirt. Listen carefully. My name is Kong Dao. From now on, I'm going to beat every last one of you bastards into the ground and become the new overlord. Kong Dao, is it? I'll remember that. In the name of the master of the first act of the Man Festival, one star of the Taejin group hereby declares, if you defeat me, I will give you the pass to clear the first act. Really? Then that suits me just fine. In the next second, the two of them slammed their fists into each other again. And inside the Taejin group's command room, everyone was shocked when they saw the scene. One star had actually started a duel that was never part of the plan. President 4-star, do we have any way to stop him? But 4-star looked at the scene before him and instead smiled. Little bro 1-star really is adorable. Even at his age, he's still this mischievous. In the past, I fought again and again for victory. My life was so dark that I could see no end. But at that time, before my eyes, there appeared a solitary and dazzling sun, slowly rising. To fight in order to survive, such a noble value is truly rare. But I, Jin Youngwei, will fight for a dream even greater than that. That is to hold the entire world firmly in the palm of my hand. Will you join me? That blazing sun, so hot it feels as though it could scorch my heart. Kong Dao, can you let me see it once more? Kong Dao's fists rained down on one star's face like a storm. A flying kick, a right roundhouse kick. The enormous force sent Kong Dao flying backward. That kick also made Kong Dao cough up blood on the spot. In the next second, one star's huge hand had already slammed Kong Dao firmly into the ground. Let me see whether you carry even a trace of the big brother I respected all my life. Kong Dao braced both hands against the ground. A flying kick struck one star squarely on the chin. Taking that chance, Kong Dao turned and leaped up. A flying me smashed into his head. This scene made the people nearby watch in terror. What on earth is this feeling surging inside me right now? Back then, I swore to devote my life to Taejin, but now, I actually find myself hoping Kong Deo will win. One Star was known as the man closest to being the best under heaven. Yet when facing a master like this, Kong Deo did not retreat in the slightest. This spirit of meeting him head-on and this utterly pure fighting will. Could it be that I've been moved by his spirit at this very moment? In a fight between true men, there can be no stepping back, because it concerns the glory of victory. And glory will never belong to those who give up. The battle had now completely entered its fiercest stage. One Star's fists came down like a raging storm, smashing wildly into Kong Deo's body. Once again, he pressed straight forward. Kong Deo fought desperately to steady his retreating body. He turned and threw a spinning back fist, while One Star drove a left hook into his abdomen. Cracks had already begun to form in Kong Deo's ribs, but the extent of One Star's skull fractures was even worse than Kong Deo's injuries. Yet the more savage the collision became, the more excited he grew. This was the path a real man was meant to walk. Kong Deo, this kid, is truly outstanding. As their fists collided head-on once again, even the ground began to tremble, and the shockwaves spreading out nearly made the people around them lose their footing. When the smoke cleared, 4-Star had actually grabbed both of their wrists with one hand each. He said, "You two have fought to this point, and that's about enough. If you keep fighting..." In the next second, he launched simultaneous kicks with both feet, striking Kong Deo and 1-Star in the abdomen. "Do you two really intend to keep going until one of you takes the other's life?" 1-Star looked utterly puzzled. "How can you interfere in my duel with someone else?" But 4-Star suddenly opened his mouth wide and unleashed a lion's roar. That terrifying sound was deafening, and everyone's scalps went numb from the shock. "How long are you planning to keep being willful? Don't forget, you're one of the organizers." Those words from 4-Star instantly left 1-Star speechless. Several people nearby immediately dropped to their knees and pleaded, "Please stop blaming 1-Star. This is all because we failed in our duty." Of course, he knew that perfectly well. If 1-Star had truly made up his mind, how could people like them possibly have stopped him? He turned to look at Kong Deo. If he had to trace it back to the root of it all, it was because this audacious brat standing before him was simply too strong. Kong Deo looked at 4-Star and gave a cold smile. "That kick just now nearly sent me to the grave. I'm really not very good at controlling my strength. I didn't expect you to be able to get back on your feet so quickly after taking that hit from me." Kong Deo, your performance this time was outstanding. Not only did you help us deal with the rule breaker, but when faced with unfairness, you also took the initiative to raise an objection to 1-Star. As the organizer of this event, I've decided to give you a special pass for the first act of the Man Festival. This is an exceptional reward that allows you to advance directly to the second act. But Kong Deo refused it on the spot. He first thanked the other party for the goodwill, but he could not accept it. All his life, he had possessed nothing, and whenever something was handed to him for free, he had never turned it down. But even a drifter like he had one thing he would never accept for free. That was victory. Victory was something that had to be won personally with one's fists. After hearing Kong Deo's words, even 4-Star could not help being taken aback. Then a gratified smile appeared on his face. Kong Deo turned his head to look. "That bald old man is the strongest opponent I've faced so far. That fight was one hell of a good one." A provocative look appeared on 1-Star's face. Judging by Kong Deo's mouth, he clearly still needed another lesson. 4-Star also acknowledged Kong Deo's words. "Good. Victory has never been something handed out by others. Since ancient times, it has always been something seized with one's own hands. When the time comes, we will naturally meet again." In the night sky above Sun Moon Mountain, a helicopter slowly passed overhead. Inside the helicopter, 4-Star's expression was grim. 1-Star, the mistake you made this time was no small one. You acted far too rashly and actually engaged a participant head-on. That kind of behavior is truly disgraceful. Big brother, this time it really was my fault. Whatever punishment comes, I'm willing to accept it. For a moment, the cabin sank into a deathly silence. But in the next second, the two of them suddenly burst out laughing together. And the force of their laughter was enough to make the entire helicopter start shaking. "Don't you think that kid is really interesting?" No wonder he was personally invited by the chairman. It seems Choi Chilji's words really weren't said lightly. "Little brother 1-Star, I'm truly sorry, but don't you think I'll be the one who wins this bet in the end? Big brother really does have a sharp eye. No wonder you put all your chips on that kid." "What sharp eye could I possibly have? I'm only trusting the late chairman's judgment." 1-Star, what do you think of that guy?" 1-Star could not help falling into memory. "At the Sun Moon Mountain duel where I first met the chairman, my comrades simply could not accept that outcome. But the chairman looked as though he had been waiting for that very moment all along. In the end, he struck every one of them down. There was no difference in status, nor were there any external conditions. None of those things had anything to do with it. What existed was only the purest kind of duel, man against man. And today, here on the Sun Moon Mountain, I saw once again that man who fights for nothing but victory. Exactly the same as on that day in the past. Isn't that kind of duel the very reason he decided to hold the man festival? I never expected you to be the one to unwrap the gift the chairman left for us first. It really makes me jealous. Big brother, forgive my dullness, but I'd like to ask your opinion. In your eyes, does that Kong Deo truly have the qualifications to dominate the world? 4 stars smiled faintly. He still has a long way to go. Up to this point, his performance has indeed shown people his strength and his spirit, but his endurance and bearing are still unknown. But one saying is true. Truly great talent always matures late, and a truly sharp blade must also be tempered 1,000 times. If, in the upcoming Man Festival, he can cross countless life and death trials, and in the end break through his own limits, only then will he be qualified to become the true king of this world. Somewhere on Sun Moon Mountain, a man stood quietly before a great bell, and the great bell before him was faintly seeping blood. Behind him, a subordinate softly reminded him, "Young master, the time has come." The man smiled faintly. Looks like there's been some disturbance on Sun Moon Mountain. It was nothing more than a clash between some police who barged in and the organizers, but 1 star has already stepped in and settled it. That old man 1 star should be warmed up by now too. I knew it. There's no way that duel-obsessed old fool could hold himself back. As soon as he finished speaking, the man suddenly raised his leg. With a downward axe kick, he slammed hard through the great bell. The bell split open on the spot, and inside it, a group of men had actually been hidden. The man leapt into the air. In that case, it's about time I went to enjoy this Man Festival too. Kong Deo, if you really want to seize this world, then you must first defeat Jin Yanggui's 5 sons, the 5 giants. The man before them was the youngest of the 5 giants, Jin Hokjin, and in the bushes behind him, another man was quietly watching the scene. Is he Jin Hokjin, the youngest of Jin Yanggui's 5 sons? As expected of one of the strongest heirs of the Qin bloodline, every single one of them is a monster capable of taking down a major gang on his own. The reason the Taejin group has been able to remain firmly seated as the king of gangs is not only because of the overwhelming deterrence of Jin Yangui himself, the strongest man alive. The existence of his 5 sons, the 5 giants, who inherited his bloodline, is just as impossible to ignore. I had been wondering why this guy's life was worth so much, but after seeing this presence with my own eyes, I understood instantly. Looks like I need to head back and report this first. But this man had no idea that his whereabouts had long since been exposed. Young master, give me 30 seconds. I'll deal with that tale immediately. No need. After that guy confirms the location, he'll definitely return to base. For us, that's actually a good thing. Quietly follow him, find those little rats hiding away, and wipe them all out in one sweep. And on a patch of grass on Sun Moon Mountain, bloodstains were already everywhere. Damn it, did I accidentally burn through too much stamina just now? Still, this opponent really isn't simple. That bald old man is a monster. As the excitement brought by the battle gradually faded, Kong Deo now barely had the strength to move even a finger. And right now, he had to find a place to catch his breath first. At that moment, he seemed to spot a place to rest. Looks like my luck today isn't too bad. Dragging his exhausted body, Kong Deo walked into that small hut. In the next second, he could no longer hold on and dropped straight to his knees. But suddenly, a shadow swept past his side. Kong Deo glanced sideways. He threw a punch that smashed directly into the thing. To his surprise, it was a hornet. But how the hell is this thing so big? This place really has every kind of freakish crap. If I'd known, I should have asked those old men for a bottle of insect repellent earlier. But suddenly, a sharp pain shot through Kong Deo's body. Damn, the wound is bleeding even worse now. I need to find a way to stop the bleeding first. Strictly speaking, this stuff can count as medicinal herb. Kong Deo pressed the herb directly onto the wound. In the next second, piercing pain hit him instantly. After that, he wrapped the wound with cloth and pulled it tight with force. The intense pain made he tremble uncontrollably. Drowsiness struck at that moment as well. Kong Deo collapsed onto the ground and fell asleep immediately. In a dark area of Sun Moon Mountain, several men were gathered there. One person is missing, but we don't have enough time. Report the locations of the 5 giants first. Alright, I'll go first. The eldest son, Jin Quanmyong, and the second son, Jin Chongho, are currently missing. I guess their positions are probably the exact opposite of the others. The third son, Jin Gunhyun, is now near the opposite stream valley, but the scouting team we sent out to confirm his position has already had half its members killed by him. While they were talking, a rustling sound suddenly came from the woods. A man hurried over. I have an urgent report. 2 kilometers away, I found the youngest of the 5 giants, Jin Hokjin. Is it that young master of the Taejin group? I heard his life is worth 5 billion. Return to base immediately and set the trap. Everyone, prepare for the hunt. But the man in the trench coat could not stop trembling. His companions had all been killed. He simply could not swallow that resentment just like that. Yet this man wore a look of disdain. Those guys died on the scouting route, but their share will all be counted toward us. In that case, won't your steps feel a little lighter too? Those words immediately made the old man stop crying. In the next second, genuine smiles appeared on all three of their faces. What a bunch of thoroughgoing snobs. So from this moment on, we're officially launching the Five Giants hunting operation. But suddenly, a thunderous snoring sound came from the distance. What the hell is that sound? Which brain-damaged bastard actually dares to sleep this soundly on a battlefield like this? But just as they were about to move out, a figure blocked their path. The guy lying inside and sleeping like a dead pig owes me a debt he can never repay. So don't make a big mess of things, while I'm still willing to let you off. Get the hell out right now. That build is ridiculously massive. Could it be Hwan Tae-seob, Busan's #1 man? They drew their weapons. If we kill this guy, can our cut go up a little more? Look at how pathetic you are. You're nothing but dogs making a living cleaning up Taejin's mess, and you think you deserve to come to the Man Festival? We have no obligation to explain anything to someone who's about to die. This guy will interfere with the mission. Finish him off within 1 minute. As soon as the words fell, Hwan Tae-seob kicked one man flying with a single blow. He twisted aside to evade a slash. Then came a jab, followed by a left hook that sent the attacker flying. The man in red charged forward with his blade raised, but what greeted him was a crushing headbutt. But Hwan Tae-seob suddenly sensed that something was wrong, and dodged to the side. You pieces of trash, professional killers, and you can't even finish off a half-dead wild dog. All of you, stand down. Hwan Tae-seob raised his arm to block. The force of that kick sent he crashing into the hut. The huge noise also carried into the room. Hwan Tae-seob was already being firmly pinned down by the assassin leader. You stupid brute, die. So what if you're Busan's strongest? In the end, you're still going to be chopped into pieces by me. But suddenly, the hut's door lock clicked. The door opened, and Kong Daeo's figure appeared behind them. You bastards, how dare you make this much noise while I'm sleeping? As long as a person doesn't get enough sleep, they really can die. So you people who are disturbing my sleep are basically threatening my life. What the hell is this guy talking about? Is there something wrong with his head? Kong Daeo looked at Hwan Tae-seob beside him. Wasn't this the same guy who had just had a brutal fight with him earlier? At that moment, an axe had already hacked its way toward Kong Daeo's face. With a flying lunge, Hwan Tae-seob slammed he back into the hut. Are you still not awake? Deal with these bastards in front of us first, and then I'll tell you what's going on. The assassin leader roared furiously. What are you still standing there for? Get them. We have to take care of both of these bastards as quickly as possible. A few weeks before the opening of the Man Festival Invitational, inside the Taejun Group headquarters. How did the Taejun Group end up finding me? Namgung Kwan. Open it. Inside is what you want. But the moment the box was opened, Namgung Kwan's face changed instantly. His greedy eyes could no longer move away from what was inside. What exactly do you want me to do? The main festival for Taejin's successor is about to begin. Your task is to participate in this Man Festival and claim the lives of the 5 giants, meaning my 4 brothers as well as me. A trace of fear appeared in Namgung Kwang's eyes. You mean those monsters? That's right, here is a 500 million advance payment. After that, every person you kill earns you 5 billion. Keep going higher, add 1 more person, and the amount doubles. Namgung Kwan was already completely blinded by money. Then what kind of methods can I use? What means? Anything you want. Judging by your expression, you've already accepted this commission. After all, on that ugly face of yours, greed has already outweighed fear. After Namgung Kwan left, Jin Bunhee turned to look out the window. His father, Jin Youngwi, was indeed great, but he and his father were not the same kind of people. That kind of rule where everyone was treated equally and only victory or defeat between men mattered was simply too outdated. At the end of the day, those people were nothing but thugs, but there was one sentence he agreed with: only the final winner is the true strong one. No matter what methods he had to use, no matter what price he had to pay, even if he had to climb over the corpses of his own brothers, he would still climb to the highest place and become the overlord of Taejin's world. You money-hungry pieces of trash, even causing a little damage will do. Meanwhile, the battle between the two of them and Namgung Kwan had already begun. Big guy, what are you doing here again? Don't tell me we still haven't settled the score between us? Now's not the time for that. Deal with the people in front of us first. Hwan Tae-seob grabbed the old man's hands in one motion, then smashed a headbutt into him. At the same time, the other two charged at Kong Daeo with weapons in hand. Kong Daeo swung a punch and smashed it straight into the two men's heads. Then he turned and delivered a spinning back kick that also struck the old man, pinning Hwan Tae-seob down. These 3 men were taken down by Kong Daeo in the blink of an eye. Even Hwan Tae-seob could not help being completely convinced. A man who could defeat him was indeed no ordinary person. With the warm-up over, Kong Daeo could not help yawning. But just then, Namgung Kwang suddenly locked an arm around his neck from behind. What are you idiots standing around for? Get him. The old man had brass knuckles on his hand, and he threw a fierce punch. That punch landed squarely on Kong Daeo's right cheek. But in the next second, shock appeared on the old man's face instead. Kong Daeo leaped up and threw a flying kick. That kick sent him crashing straight into the roof. The huge impact caused the beehive on the roof to fall onto another man's head. the swarm instantly surrounded him, and the scene before his eyes made Kong Dao understand in an instant. Those damn hornets from earlier really were here because there's a nest in the ceiling. In the next second, Kong Dao slammed backward, breaking free from Namgungquan's hold in one move. Big guy, get ready to risk your life and hold them off for me first. For a moment, Wan Taeseob did not understand what he meant, but in the next second, Kong Dao kicked him in the ass. That kick sent him flying straight out of the hut. Kong Dao himself also rushed out immediately. Then the two of them braced themselves hard against the door. They actually blocked the door, those two damn bastards. But one of the men had already been stung until his face was swollen all over. Boss, save me. I can't breathe. This was anaphylactic shock caused by hornet venom. If severe, it could be fatal within minutes. Namgungquan swung his axe. You idiot, get the hell away from me. Just then, hornets had already crawled onto his arm. A wave of intense pain shot straight into his brain. No, I have to find a way out immediately. And right now, the best exit is the window. In the next second, glass shattered all over the floor. But Namgungquan's body got jammed stiff in the window frame. You despicable bastard. As the captain, you only care about saving yourself and don't care whether your men live or die. Since you're a captain who's lost his crew, then you ought to sink with the ship. The next instant Namgungquan was dragged back into the hut again. The hornets swarmed over him like a tide. Before long, they had crawled all over his body. Inside the hut, only their miserable screams remained. No one knew how much time had passed before the sounds inside finally began to die down. Kong Dao sat on the ground, breathing heavily. This is seriously exhausting. I was sleeping just fine, and then I got dragged into all this mess. Wan Taeseob smiled faintly instead. That bit of teamwork just now had been pretty good. As expected of the real man he had set his sights on. Oh right, you're that guy from Busan, aren't you? What was your name again? So you still remember me. I'm the man who had that brutal fight with you. But what exactly is your name again? Wan Seobti. You little punk. My name is Wan Taeseob. Did you forget that fast? I remember now. You're that loser I already beat. What? Still not satisfied? So you came running back for more. So what you mean is, a loser's name isn't worth remembering at all? You're not one of those guys who keeps pestering a woman after getting dumped, are you? I am Wan Taeseob, a true man of Busan. And now, I've completely made up my mind. You bastard, did everything I said just go in one ear and out the other? Do I have to beat you up again? But Wan Taeseob suddenly turned serious. I admit that I lost, so I want to ask you to take me in as your underling. Big brother Kong Dao, ever since our fight, I've been watching your battles with other people. That pure kind of strength on Kong Dao had already struck deep into his heart. All his life, Wan Taeseob had desperately wanted to become stronger, so he believed his own judgment could not possibly be wrong. Kong Dao would definitely become a king, and he hoped he could have the honor of walking forward at Kong Dao's side. Kong Dao picked his nose. He refused. You're too huge, and you smell too much like sweat. If I walk around with a fierce-looking guy like you, women definitely won't dare come near me. Big brother, then I'll bathe twice a day, morning and night. And my type is actually pretty popular with women too. I, Wan Taeseob, may have lost to you, but no matter what, I'm still the man who ruled Busan. As long as you say the word, I can give you anything. Were you serious about what you just said? You actually offered me such shallow terms, but I still felt your sincerity. From today on, I'll be your boss. Seeing that Kong Dao had finally agreed, Wan Taeseob was so excited he could hardly contain himself. Boss, you're finally willing to take me in. I'll give it everything I've got. But at that very moment, a voice interrupted the two of them. Those two idiots in the hut, were they locked in there by you? Though I still don't know who you are, I still have to thank you. After all, they were supposed to be dealt with by me anyway. Who the hell is this guy? He's so damn irritating. He got this close, and I didn't even notice him at all. Thank you for helping me get rid of those pieces of trash. As a return gift, I'll give you a little present. You won't feel any pain. I'll kill you as quickly as possible. Wan Taeseob's expression instantly turned grave. He was Jin Hokjin, the youngest son of Jin Youngwei of the Taejin group. Kong Dao said, so this guy is that old man's son? He doesn't look anything like his father. You brat, you really have no manners. How dare you address my father that way right in front of me? You disrespectful little punk. Why don't you hurry up and cower out to your uncle here? I've drunk with your father before. If you've shared drinks at the same table, then you're brothers. Don't you understand that? Jin Hokjin clenched his teeth in anger. Director O, deal with this piece of trash for me. In the next second, a man suddenly appeared behind Kong Dao. But before he could make a move, Wan Taeseob had already slammed into him first and knocked him aside. Wan Taeseob, for a strong man like you to willingly place yourself beneath someone else is truly hard to understand. Watch your mouth. He's the big brother I've chosen. Before he could finish speaking, Jin Hokjin had already kicked at Kong Dao. Kong Dao answered with a flying kick of his own. Forget it. Just think of it as your uncle here disciplining an unruly nephew. How about I start by shattering that arrogant ankle of yours? Is that so? Then I've changed my mind. I'll make sure you die in the utmost agony. Chairman Jin Youngwei of the Taejin Group had 5 sons, but only one person could sit in that position. So these people were destined never to live beneath the same sky. That was the fate of imperial bloodline. Inside a room, a group of gangsters were drinking merrily. But in the next second, a man flew straight in and smashed the table to pieces. A figure appeared before them. "Gentlemen, could you give me a cup of wine? Better yet, offer up your lives along with it." Only by inheriting Jin Youngwei's astonishing talent, together with the full resources of the Taejin Group. With both talent and family background in his hands, Jin Hokjin, at only 25 years old, had already climbed to the peak. The worthy choose their master with care. Hwan Taeseob, your foolish judgment will only destroy you in the end. No matter how special that person may be, he could never possibly defeat the strongest bloodline of the Jin family. Kang Dao raised a hand and blocked Jin Hokjin's downward axe kick. "You two really do talk too much. Every other word out of your mouths is that damned family and bloodline. What, are you pedigree dogs specially bred to rank bloodlines? Listen carefully, you guy who can't even keep your eyes open. I am the son of old man Kong Taeju, the divine eagle of Dongdukian." And Kong Dao's words left all 3 of them stunned. "Old man Kong Taeju? Who's that?" "Of course he's my father, Kong Taeju, the owner of Divine Eagle Supermarket in Dongdukian. You're all welcome to visit anytime." "Where did this lunatic come from? What the hell are you even talking about?" Kong Dao spread his 5 fingers and grabbed him by the face. "Exactly. You all think this kind of talk is complete nonsense, and those are exactly the same words I want to throw right back at you. I don't care whose son you are or what kind of big shot you're supposed to be. I doesn't give a damn about that kind of crap. Without even fighting, you already dare to judge who's stronger and who's weaker. Then prove it to me with your fists." But Jin Hokjin happened to see right through the range of Kong Dao's punch. Kong Dao kicked out again. But Jin Hokjin merely tilted his head slightly and had already dodged it. He actually missed twice in a row? Big brother is someone who could beat me easily. That guy had not misjudged. This was a divine skill that only young Master Jin Hokjin could perform. It was a kind of spatial distance perception beyond ordinary people. But even more terrifying was the technique born together with that perception. That was near-perfect distance control and dodging ability. Jin Hokjin immediately whipped out a left roundhouse kick. Kong Dao's face changed, and he gritted his teeth in pain. Damn it. That kick landed exactly on the rib that had cracked during his decisive battle with the bald old man. Is dodging the only thing you can do? I could tell from the start. Your father may be a fierce tiger, but his son is nothing but trash. You little punk, you ought to feel ashamed. Don't you think you've let down your dead father? Those words instantly ignited Jin Hokjin's fury. You bastard. He immediately stepped in and threw a side kick. Kong Dao twisted aside to dodge it, and his rear hand punch began charging up. Sure enough, as long as a person got emotional, an opening would definitely appear. But Jin Hokjin merely smiled faintly. He spun into a flying knee, then followed with a right roundhouse kick and a left sweep. Under the suppression of this chain of kicks, Kong Dao found himself completely unable to defend for the moment. You worthless trash, have you still not realized it by now? Every one of my movements has been meant to force you step by step toward the cliff's edge. This place suits you perfectly. Trash like you deserves to be trapped in the abyss forever. Kong Dao's body instantly plunged downward. At the brink between life and death, he suddenly tore off his clothes. At the same time, the clothes caught on a dead tree. But in the very next second, that dead tree snapped right off. Kong Dao's body fell again. At last, Kong Dao crashed heavily into the bottom of the gorge. Just now, Kong Dao had been staring at the opponent in front of him the whole time and had never noticed that there was a cliff right behind him. For he to make such a huge mistake, he really ought to reflect on it. Right now, he had to calm down and think of a way to break this predicament. In the next second, Kong Dao directly grabbed onto the rock wall. Calm down my ass, Kong Dao, you idiot. Just because you knocked down a few thugs and traded blows with 1 star, you actually started thinking you could walk sideways anywhere? Trash like you deserves to rot trapped in the abyss. What strategy? What calmness? All of it was bullshit. Screw the festival, none of that mattered now. Right now, he only wanted to kill Jin Hokjin with his own hands. On the other side, Hwan Taeseob got punched in the jaw. I wonder what's happening with big brother Kong Dao over there. But before he could think further, that man launched several more attacks in succession. Hwan Taeseob threw a punch in retaliation, but ordinary attacks were useless against that guy. The entourage Jin Hokjin had brought really was no ordinary person. He was Oh Sungwoo from the Presidential Security Service. But no matter what, if he wanted to confirm whether big brother Kong Dao was alive or dead, Hwan Taeseob first had to defeat him. Jin Hokjin suddenly appeared. Director Oh, that guy just now already fell off the cliff. I'll head back to the temple first. It's not far anyway. Finish this guy off, then come meet up with me. Hwan Taeseob's face was full of disbelief. Could it be that big brother really had met with an accident? But Oh Sungwoo's fist was already smashing straight toward him. Hwan Taeseob, no matter how much you struggle, there's no way you can beat me with such cheap tricks. Whether it's judo or grappling, There isn't a martial art I can't handle. Did I ever say I wanted to compete with you in fighting technique? Oh Sungwoo, have you ever thought about properly training your lower body? A big hand suddenly clenched tight. That excruciating pain of total annihilation instantly shot to the top of his head. Hwan Taeseob lifted him up in one motion, and in the next second smashed him heavily into the ground. He's nothing but a filthy piece of trash, so stop putting on that self-righteous face. This is the Man Festival, a place where if you can't win, you lose your life. Now is not the time to stand here wasting time. Hwan Taeseob's voice echoed through the woods. Big brother, can you hear me? Not long after, Hwan Taeseob saw the cliff before him. He could hardly believe it. Boss actually fell down there, if that's the case. Jin Hokjin looked completely unhurt just now, which means boss already lost to him. Did I misjudge him? Hwan Taeseob clenched his teeth, trembling with anger. Kong Deo, you little bastard. But suddenly, Kong Deo's figure appeared directly in front of him. What the hell is this idiot babbling about? Hwan Taeseob was scared out of his wits on the spot. Boss, I just wanted to use your name for a poem on the spur of the moment. Shut up. I was only gone for a little while, and you were already talking behind my back, you ungrateful bastard. Where did that squinty-eyed punk run off to? It's almost impossible to believe. Can something like this really happen? After falling off a cliff, he actually managed to climb back up alive? That was an absurdly steep, towering precipice. One of the top 3 extreme sports in the world in terms of fatality rate is free solo climbing without any safety equipment at all. One of the most representative examples is Alex climbing El Capitan free solo. These small palms of mine, every single point where they exert force is carrying my life. The slightest mistake would mean instant death. That scalp-tingling fear comes at me every second. Though the fierce wind and bitter cold are just as terrifying, my greatest enemy has always been myself. It is absolute trust in myself. If even a moment of hesitation appears, that very moment turns directly into death. Only someone with confidence pushed to the absolute limit would dare face such an unconquerable cliff and still reach the summit as casually as if whistling. Only a person whose will is as hard as rock has the right to climb to the peak. I'm going to tear you limb from limb. Just you wait, you slit-eyed bastard. Outside that cabin just now, it has now been confirmed that all 4 members of Cholson workforce, who were participants, have lost their ability to fight. The cause was hornet venom. Should this be judged as a violation of the Man Festival's rules? As long as it wasn't a deliberately arranged artificial poison, it does not count as a rule violation. That can only be considered the participants' failure to overcome the environment they were in. Being forced to withdraw after getting stung by hornets is certainly pathetic, but I don't have time right now to deal with something so meaningless. Because very soon, we are about to witness the most crucial battle of this Man Festival, the fratricidal battle between the 5 giants, brothers turning on their own flesh and blood. Inside a temple on Sun Moon Mountain, a broad-built man sat before a statue, while behind him several gangsters had already all lost consciousness. But the man acted as though he saw nothing and was still completely focused on shaping a clay figure. Jin Hokjin suddenly appeared. Third brother Gunhyun, you really haven't changed at all. Your interests are still as childish as ever. Jin Gunhyun curled up one corner of his mouth. He turned and stood up. Isn't this our family's cutest youngest one, Hokjin? I've missed you so much, my brother. In the next second, he raised his hand and hurled the lump of clay in his hand. Jin Hokjin lifted his foot and kicked it aside directly. Jin Gunhyun pressed in at once, but Jin Hokjin answered with a back kick, striking him directly in the head. Jin Hokjin's expression remained calm, as if the one who had just attacked had not been him at all. Jin Gunhyun slowly stood up. 501. Give me 501. I want to buy cookies. I really didn't expect that the little brat who used to chase after me for money back then had now grown to this extent. Third brother's neck really is absurdly thick. That kind of attack can't hurt him at all. Raised under the care of a loving mother, then taught under father's stern guidance, you finally grew into such a handsome man. But today you came looking for your own older brother in order to take his life. Little brother, today really is a happy day. Today, let your big brother see with his own eyes just how much our Hokjin has grown. Several weeks before the Man Festival opened, inside Jin Gunhyun's office at the Taejin Group, that thick giant tree suddenly began to shake violently. It turned out that Jin Gunhyun was continuously throwing punches at the tree. Suddenly, a group of subordinates stepped forward to greet him. Young Master Jin Gunhyun, you've worked hard. Jin Gunhyun stopped what he was doing. Good morning, everyone. One subordinate looked completely puzzled. Young Master, you're already the strongest now, so why do you still punch a tree every day? Jin Gunhyun smiled faintly. It seems you've overlooked something very important. This tree was planted on the day I was born, though it has now grown into a towering giant. On that day, it too was only a sickly little sapling. This fellow has stood guard here for over 30 years. Even violent typhoons could not stop it from continuing to grow through hardship, and before anyone knew it, it had become such a majestic tree. We humans are actually no different from this tree. That is why people too must become stronger through one blow after another. Just like me, I failed to inherit Father Jin Yangwei's abilities. Unlike those brothers who possess the strongest bloodline and stand at the peak from birth, I was never a genius from the moment I was born. As the third son, I have tasted far too much pain. Whether in talent or physical ability, I could not catch up to those brothers. So I could only struggle desperately, all for the sake of surpassing those genius brothers. For that, I endured pain beyond what ordinary people could imagine. But the tears and sweat I shed will not betray me. One day, I too will climb to the summit. Like that slowly advancing turtle, I too will use these fists stained with blood and sweat to smash apart every mockery in the Man Festival. Hearing those words, Jin Hokshin only smiled faintly. What utter bullshit. That diligent tortoise eventually defeating the lazy hare was nothing but a fairy tale weaklings used to comfort themselves and deceive themselves. From the very beginning, the story was wrong. Did a talented hare really only know how to fool around? The idea that geniuses never work hard was nothing more than a fantasy mediocrities invented to protect their pride. In this Man Festival, I, a genius who knows how to work hard, will make you taste the bitterness of crushing defeat with your own mouth. This is wonderful. It seems he really has grown up. You old men of Taejin, keep your eyes wide open. Today, I, Jin Gunyun, will give all of you a truly magnificent duel. The aftershock of the battle instantly swept across the entire area. All of Jung's men held their positions to the death. One star would be here very soon, and under no circumstances could they interfere in this duel. After all, this was the fraternal battle the whole of Taejin had been waiting to see. At that moment, Kong Dao suddenly appeared outside the arena. Slit eyes, I finally found this bastard. And the two brothers stopped fighting, both looking at Kong Dao in confusion. Inside the command room, Choi Cholji was filled with shock. Kong Dao again? How is this guy still not dead even now? 4-star laughed happily. This kid really is interesting. This young man's life is seriously tough. Even after fighting 1 star, he's still this full of vigor. How the situation is going to develop in the end is really something to look forward to. You youngest brat of the Jin family, you ran off in the middle of our fight. Little punk, get over here and finish this match with me properly. Jin Hokshin's squinting eyes narrowed even further. After falling from such a high cliff, he was actually still alive. Jin Gunhyun let out a sigh. Hokshin, you really disappoint me. You actually left without deciding the outcome with your opponent. Can someone like you still count as Jin Yangwei's son? You really make me feel ashamed. Jin Hokshin gritted his teeth in fury. That bastard. He actually made me lose this much face in front of all of Taejin. This really was my mistake. Then I'll erase this stain with my own hands. A stain? You actually dare call this a stain? I'll kill you, you little punk. Jin Hokshin's inborn spatial judgment ability. This strike was the same as before, simple, direct, and stupid. There was no difference from their last exchange at all. I'm done playing with you. I'll use this strike to make sure you can't even dodge, just die. And the target of this kick was to pierce straight through Kong Dao's heart. With perfect spatial awareness as the foundation, Jin Hokshin unleashed his finishing kick technique, aiming precisely at Kong Dao's heart. But at that very instant, Kong Dao suddenly twisted his body. He directly elevated the burning rage in his chest into the ultimate fighting instinct. Borrowing the force of that full-power heavy strike, his body accelerated into a spin. Then he swept out with one kick. That kick landed squarely on Jin Hokshin's head, and that strike made Jin Hokshin begin recalling his life in that picturesque courtyard. Hokshin, you are the son of Jin Youngwei, the Supreme King, so there are some things you must know. Yes, mother, I'll remember them. You must listen carefully to every word mother says. Your future will be as Taejin's heir. But in the very next second, a punch directly interrupted his memory. In a battle this sacred, you still dare let your attention wander. Kong Dao kicked out again. That kick sent Jin Hokshin crashing directly into the large tree behind him. The representative of Jin Youngwei's strongest bloodline, the youngest son Jin Hokshin, was eliminated just like that. Watching the scene, Jin Gunhyun's face instantly darkened. But in the next second, he suddenly bared his teeth in a grin. At the same time, his whole body leapt up above Kong Dao. He stared at Kong Dao and laughed wildly. He charged straight at Kong Dao. A terrifying wave of force instantly blasted outward in all directions. Everyone watching was dumbstruck. 4-star and 2-star were full of excitement. Wonderful. Today really was a satisfying day. I didn't expect you to actually take down my little brother. You've got me excited as hell. So the rabbit lost. Does that mean the boar is next? Come on. Today is the day I send all of you bastards to meet Dad. For a moment, fist shadows filled the sky. A right jab, a left sweep kick, a left jab. I can see every move you're about to make, clear as day. Jin Gunhyun was thrilled to the extreme. This was the result of throwing tens of thousands of punches and training desperately. Today, he would use the fruits of his hard work to shake this world. But Kong Dao suddenly clamped down on his arm and drove a high knee upward. Actually, Jin Gunhyun understood it himself. No matter how tall and mighty a giant tree was, in the end, it was still only a tree. No matter what, it could never touch the true sky. This hope called hard work, in the end, was merely futile struggling. a miracle would never happen. However, in the end, he was still of Jin Yangwei's bloodline. At the instant he was about to touch his limit, the shadow of Jin Yangwei from back then actually appeared on him for real. Kong Dao looked baffled. He had clearly had him suppressed just now. Jin Gunhyun grabbed Kong Dao by the ankle. He laughed excitedly. Kong Dao's body was swung back and forth in his hand like a toy. This was the first time in Jin Gunhyun's life he had ever felt something like this. So this is the world my brothers have always looked down on from above? Or is this the blessing my strongest on earth father has given me? This feeling is incredible. It's like being reborn. I should thank you, even though I don't even know your name, because from this moment on, I can finally soar freely without fear. But just when he was getting carried away with himself, Kong Dao stood up once again. Wild boar, don't turn your back on your opponent, because I'm still alive. Is that so? Then I was careless just now. This time, I'll do as you wish and take your life for good. At this moment, Jin Gunhyun had completely awakened his bloodline. In his eyes, there was no longer anything in this world that could not be done. Kong Dao charged straight at him. His speed had reached the absolute limit. In an instant, the wind of his punch was already brushing past Jin Gunhyun's head. Jin Gunhyun looked at Kong Dao as fists beating toward him. But the arrogance that had been in his eyes just now was gone. What was happening? Why were memories of his past suddenly surging up like a flickering lantern show? The tree he had always cherished most was split open by a bolt of lightning. This was the cruel law of nature. People simply had no power to change it. Natural disasters and mutations had never been within human control. That was a kind of power that could not be matched. No matter how hard he tried, he had no way to resist it. The total number of participants in the Man Festival was 200, of whom 81 died. A total of 99 lost their ability to fight. So in the end, the beasts who successfully survived numbered only 20. A smile spread across One Star's face. Congratulations, everyone. As the organizer, I now declare that the first act of the Man Festival has come to an end. And in the Taejin Group control room, the faces of all the passers also appeared on the big screen. 20 people, at the very least, that counted as filtering out some rough gems. But in the final analysis, the first act was only a preliminary round. The real Man Festival was only just beginning. At the Taejin Group Hotel in Seoul, a luxury car slowly came to a stop. A handsome man and a beautiful woman stepped out of the car. Two attendants slowly pulled open the doors. We hope the two of you enjoy your stay at the Taejin Hotel. But in the next second, an arm suddenly bumped into the man. Kong Dao lay there with an irritated look on his face. What were those thick-skinned old men plotting this time? First they had thrown everyone into a mountain with no toilets and made them suffer, and now they had called them to such a luxurious hotel. And on top of that, they had locked all these beasts into the same cage. These people were all lunatics who had survived the mountain. Just looking at them, they seemed ready to start beating each other senseless at any moment. At a window-side seat in the lobby, someone was quietly reading a newspaper. This world has truly gone mad. How is an old man like me supposed to go on living in peace? In the distance, someone slowly approached. The one who had come was Choi Chulji. Sir, the time has come. The old man put away the newspaper. He had not expected it to come so quickly. The second act of the Man Festival officially began. Meanwhile, inside the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency, Commissioner Han Young-sik was gazing out the window. Behind him, Public Safety Director Hwang Byung-gap was saluting him. Han Young-sik turned around. As Public Safety Director, you insisted on your own course and sent Al into this Man Festival, and as a result, your team members were seriously injured and even killed. This entire matter is your responsibility, Hwang Byung-gap. Your rash judgment has made all 130,000 police officers lose face and become a laughingstock to the scum lurking in the shadows. Hwang Byung-gap could not say a single word and could only shut his eyes tightly. Han Young-sik raised a hand and placed it on his shoulder. Byung-gap, even if we've called each other brothers for decades, this time I can't show you any leniency. Yes, boss, I willingly accept the punishment. A massive fist had already slammed hard into his chest. That blow sent him flying straight into the corridor. Public Safety Director Hwang Byung-gap, in my capacity as Commissioner of the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency, I order you. From this moment on, no department is permitted to interfere in this Man Festival, and this incident will be personally taken over by me. Inside the police agency conference room, the first act of the Man Festival has already ended. Next, I will brief everyone on the situation at the scene. Han Young-sik's gaze was cold. Fine, begin. Yes, as expected, the ones who survived are all the strongest scum. I will now report the 20 scum who passed the first act. First is Hwan Taeseob, boss of the Baekdu gang, the largest gang that unified the Busan region. This one is Oh Song, a murderer who killed every officer investigating his crimes. The South Sea killer, Red Grouper, who threw rival organizations and their family members into the South Sea for a sea burial. The the Lord of the Night, Du Yongchan, who turned dozens of entertainment venues into strongholds and kept expanding his power. Seo Wong, the Yosu King Yasha, boss of Jeonnam Yosu's Axe Fist Gang, who has never lost in street fights. And this one is Ryu Dalsan, the Mokbo Bear Hunter, who fought Seo Wong for dominance, matched him in strength, and also possesses monstrous arm power. And also the professional assassin who takes murder commissions under the guise of religious revelations, Chongju Chainsaw Priest O Guang. Wait a second, aren't all of these guys already in the files? Are there no new faces? Reporting to the commissioner, besides them, there are also 3 unknown scum. This participant is Jiang Suyan, age 32. In the past, this person had close dealings with the Taijin group, but nothing particularly special has been discovered yet. 24-year-old Soul Sea Demon participant Jino Wong. What is unusual about him is that he is an adult high school student. This guy has had a growing criminal record since childhood. He has gone through dozens of forced transfers and expulsions alone. And behind him, there also seems to be some unknown force backing him. So even now he is still attending high school, and all the delinquent high schoolers are under his control. He is a super high school level invincible scumbag so strong that even major gangs cannot suppress him. A police officer angrily slammed a fist onto the table. This bastard is so young, and just looking at that face tells you he's rotten through. He's evil to the bone. Next is an even more interesting participant. Most of Jin Yangwei's 5 sons passed the first act. Only the youngest, Jin Hoxin, was eliminated. Wasn't Jin Hoxin invincible among his generation? Was he taken out by the 3rd son, Jin Gunyun? No. The most shocking part is that the one who eliminated Jin Hoxin was not his older brother Jin Gunhyun. It was a 32-year-old unemployed man from Dongdukian, a man named Kong Dao. Everyone was stunned. Where exactly had this guy come from? And why had they never heard this name before? Before the first act even began, that guy instantly killed Chai Suiyak, the evil spirit of Hosan in North Chungcheong. After that, he defeated Zhou Minhan, the boxing murderer with 12 prior convictions. Also our leader Li Gunwu, professional assassin Nem Gung Quan, and the youngest of the 5 giants, Jin Hoxin, all fell to Kong Dao. In the end, Kong Dao even suppressed the 3rd son, Jin Gunghyun. The most astonishing part is that during the first act, that man even directly clashed head-on with the Man Festival organizers. He actually fought a duel on equal footing with 1-star, Jin Yangwei's sworn brother. It is simply unbelievable that Kong Dao's strength could stand on the same level as 1-star's. Everyone knows 1-star's strength. Even if an entire gang surrounded him, the number who could still survive in the end would be countable on one hand across the whole country. Jin Yangwei's 4 sworn brothers. After Jin Yangwei's death, the strength of those men could absolutely be called the strongest in the current age. Han Youngsik's expression turned grave. As someone who had personally fought them, he knew better than anyone how terrifying those monsters were. To survive after fighting 1-star, what exactly is that thug called Kong Dao? This guy was only briefly a street punk for a while. Even now, at 32 years old, he still lives under his parents' protection. His hobbies are things like fishing and horse racing. He spends all day just enjoying himself and wasting time. Aside from that, no further information has been found. So he is just an idle drifter? Even so, he absolutely cannot be underestimated. They must keep a close eye on that Kong Dao. An unemployed thug Kong Dao who can defeat a member of the 5 giants and even fight 1-star head-on. This completely unpredictable supreme scumbag has now appeared. What exactly does he want to do next? In Dongdukian, there was a supermarket called Divine Eagle Supermarket. A man with a magazine covering his face was lying there snoring. A car pulled up in front of the supermarket. Juan Taesiab got out of the car. So this is Shinyang Supermarket in Dongdukian? And also where boss Kong Dao lives? Honestly, it's more rundown than I expected. It's just a shabby little store. But how someone lives doesn't matter. I have complete faith in boss's strength. He's the one who deserves to stand at the very top of this world. The man inside the house picked up a coin. With only a light flick of his finger, the coin shot out. The coin shattered the glass directly. It flew past Juan Taesiab's side. The speed was astonishingly fast, even slicing a line of blood across Juan Taesiab's face. It's gunfire. Big brother, get down. But in the next second, the man inside grabbed another big handful of coins. Those coins shot out in an instant. Juan Taesiab's expression changed drastically. Could it be that before the second act even began, assassins had already made their move? One of his subordinates pulled out a dagger. Big brother, let me go in first. He yanked the door open, and charged in holding the dagger. But in the darkness, the man only had an ice pop in his hand. In the next second, the ice pop was flung straight into that subordinate's face. The subordinate was sent flying back out the door. You lot are obviously rotten, stinking trash from society. Each of you has healthy limbs and youth on your side, yet broad daylight doesn't stop you from coming here to act like hooligans, and you even come in groups, ruining the peaceful atmosphere of the street. You really are a bunch of scum with no value to society. From this moment on, Hand over everything from your wallets to your underwear. Move now. On the other side, after the great battle of the first act of the Man Festival ended, Kong Deo entered a period of rest and recuperation. But today, Kong Deo kept feeling as if he had forgotten something. Was someone supposed to come looking for him? And at this moment, Wan Taeseob was staring in fear at Kong Deo's father. Don't make me say it twice. You gangsters, leave everything you have on you and get out of my sight right now. Wan Taeseob was somewhat unconvinced. Old man, is there something wrong with your head? But in the next second, a slap had already landed across his face. That slap spun him 360 degrees in place. The terrifying force made Wan Taeseob's expression change drastically. This feeling was exactly the same as when he had first fought Big Brother Kong Deo. Before he could even react, Kong Deo's father had already grabbed his ear hard. It's unbelievable. Am I really going to die here today? Just then, a loud bang suddenly came from behind them, and a baseball flew past Kong Deo's father. No wonder I've been feeling this irritating discomfort, like not wiping my ass clean. Dad, what are you doing? They're my guests. A trace of surprise appeared on Kong Deo's father's face. Guests? Kong Deo, you little brat. I haven't seen you around lately, and I thought you'd finally turned over a new leaf. But instead, you're still mixing with these gangsters, and you dare call them guests to my face. Cold sweat covered Kong Deo's forehead. Dad, calm down first. To be precise, they count as my coworkers. But in the next second, Kong Deo suddenly sensed something was wrong. His father took out a baseball bat wrapped in chains and nails. Looks like today I'll have to teach you a proper lesson. That scene made both Kong Deo and Wan Taeseob go pale. This time they were really done for. Run. They hurriedly rushed into the car and slammed the door shut. Big brother, are we leaving right now? Wait, Dong Hyuk hasn't come yet. Forget that guy. Step on the gas now, or today all of us are going to die. And we'll die so badly no one will even be able to tell who we were. Kong Deo's father raised his hand and hurled the baseball bat directly. Kong Deo quickly pressed Wan Taeseob's head down in one motion, narrowly avoiding the strike. The engine roared, and the car sped away from the scene. And Kong Deo's father stood in the back watching all this. What a useless little brat. All he knows how to do is run. What a shame. In the end, that baseball bat I threw out only ended up costing you money. Inside a restaurant. I really didn't expect this. I, Lee Dong-hyuk, a proud man, survived so many life and death situations. And yet today I ended up like this. That old man not only took all my money, but also made me pay for all the repair costs in the store. Wan Taeseob quickly tried to comfort him. You've been through a lot. Being able to come back alive is already something. Who would have thought that terrifying old man, like Satan himself, was actually Boss Kong Deo's father? Kong Deo smiled faintly. They were already pretty lucky. Those gangsters who used to come collecting protection money in the past were probably still sitting in wheelchairs now. Wan Taeseob looked utterly shocked. This is the first time in my life I've ever seen someone so terrifying. If your father is that strong, why is he living in seclusion in a place like this? Kong Deo himself didn't know either. He knew almost nothing about his father's past, but one thing was certain. His father truly hated gangsters from the bottom of his heart. So when Kong Deo was little, he got beaten the hell out of by him every few days. Kong Deo figured that for a while, he probably wouldn't be able to go home anymore. He would likely have to stay with Wan Taeseob first. If this thing gets lost outside, it'll be a real pain. Wan Taeseob also raised his arm. Sure enough, Big Brother is wearing the ring for those who passed the first act of the Man Festival too. Wan Taeseob's two subordinates also hurriedly greeted Kong Deo. They would definitely serve Big Brother well and take good care of Kong Deo's daily needs. But suddenly, someone slammed a liquor bottle hard onto the table. What kind of bullshit is this old man spouting? Do you know who the tyrant of Minwang Hai, Jino Wang, is? Kong Deo turned his head to look. What were these milk-smelling brats doing, acting this arrogant in broad daylight? Wan Taeseob tried to persuade him. They were just a bunch of little punks who hadn't even grown all their hair yet. That's true. After all, I was young and reckless myself once. So let's just enjoy our drinks and ignore those little punks. But in the next second, that thug suddenly slapped the owner across the face. You old man, just hearing you open your mouth is enough to ruin my whole day. You're really an annoying old fossil. Don't you know you should be more polite when you talk to me? But in the next second, a huge foot kicked directly into that thug's face. Kong Deo kicked him straight into the ground. He had originally wanted to let them off today, but these ill-bred little bastards had made it impossible for Kong Deo to hold back. That scene left everyone dumbfounded. What was that lunatic doing? Pay for your food and get the hell out, now. If anyone dares say one more word of bullshit, I'll be the first to send him to his grave. But in the next second, a large hand directly poured a bowl of soup over Kong Deo's head, and his face darkened to the extreme. Wan Taeseob wore a look of pity. This guy was dead. That thug looked full of arrogance. Didn't you just say you were going to kill me? If that's the case, then try it right now. Very good. Even if your parents kneel down and beg for mercy for you now, it's already too late. Jino Wang's 3 trusted followers still had not processed what was happening. I really can't stand him. The second act of the Man Festival hasn't even started yet, and his hands are already itching for a fight. It looks like the opponents are just some gangsters who only just walked into the restaurant. Poor bastards. They picked the wrong person to mess with. Too bad we can't interfere. After all, Gino Wong hates it when anyone touches his prey. That's true. Once he's intent on killing, no one can stop him, because his strength is something that already lies beyond common sense. Because he is Gino Wong, a man who has never once tasted defeat. But now, this very Gino Wong was being shoved face-first into a large bowl by Kong Dao. He struggled to stand back up, but Kong Dao forcefully stuffed a whole roast chicken into his mouth. Then he drove a punch into his stomach. Gino Wong had always been terrifyingly strong. He had never used weapons, climbing all the way up with nothing but his fists. But now, he actually grabbed a knife and slashed it at Kong Dao. Kong Dao swiftly entangled his arm. Then he directly locked both of his arms in place. Kong Dao took a brief breath. Then he launched a flying kick. No matter how strong the opponent was, as long as he dared stand before Gino Wong, it was the same as already being sentenced to death. But in the next second, a figure smashed through the window and flew out. And that absurdly strong Gino Wong had actually collapsed on the ground, motionless. Gino Wong made a weak sound. Stop that monster, quickly. But before his subordinates could react, Kong Dao was already standing behind them. So Gino Wong is your name? What last words do you have? When Wan Taeseob heard that name, his expression suddenly changed. Gino Wong. He seemed to have heard that name before. He was the man who ruled an entire high school, and also a participant in the second act of the Man Festival, Gino Wong. Big brother Kong Dao, wait a second. This little punk is a participant in the second act of the Man Festival. We still don't know the details of the rules, and if this keeps up, it might keep Big Brother from advancing smoothly into the second act. But Kong Dao's big foot had already stomped his head hard into the ground. Even Wan Taeseob could not help showing a trace of pity on his face. Kong Dao turned back to look at him. Wan Taeseob, what did you just say? A few days after the Gino Wong violence incident, inside Seoul's Taejin Hotel, the opening ceremony of the second act of the Man Festival officially began. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to come and bring honor to Taejin's humble halls. I am truly happy to see all of you. I am 2-star of the Taejin group, in charge of the second act. Everyone present here is a person of outstanding ability, because after all, you are all men who passed the first act. Before the second act officially begins, I would first like to ask whether all of you understand the history of the Taejin group. In the past, the conflicts between gangs once fell into a completely chaotic and barbaric age, and Chairman Jin Youngwee, the strongest on Earth, unified the world under the name Taejin. But just like those founding kings in history who seized the throne through force, there were always people constantly coveting the overlord's seat. Whether he was eating, sleeping, or even sharing fiery moments with the one he loved to create Taejin's heir, it was never an exception. Countless assassins fixated on the king's throne, but the chairman repelled every one of them through sheer strength. So the dramatic and cruel blood battles once experienced by the late chairman will now be reenacted in the second act of the Man Festival. 2-stars snapped his fingers. Choi Chulji slowly walked before the crowd. Contestants, please each draw one. Wan Taeseob drew a cigarette. On it, the number 7 was clearly printed, and all the contestants present also received their own corresponding serial numbers. These old men's way of doing things is actually kind of interesting. Are you planning to decide the matchups by drawing lots? Kong Dao looked expectant. In that case, he would draw one too. But just as Kong Dao reached out his hand, Choi Chulji suddenly lifted his hand higher. Kong Dao, you are the exception. You will be dealt with separately. Kong Dao looked baffled. What kind of nonsense was that supposed to mean? Had he done something wrong? Before the second act even began, you caused a participant who had passed the first act to lose his qualification to compete. That goes against the Man Festival's purpose of honoring the chairman's achievements. Therefore, we will arrange a special opponent for you. Please look forward to it. Kong Dao clenched his teeth in anger. Why were these bastards always targeting he alone? 2-star smiled broadly. It seems everyone's opponents have now been decided. These are the matchups for the 19 men of the second act of the Man Festival, who are about to begin their bloody battles. The format of the second act is the same as that of the first. Firearms, explosives, and any weapons that are not considered sufficiently honorable are all prohibited. This time, the fights will still be conducted one-on-one. As long as all of you abide by one-on-one duels, we will not interfere in how you choose to fight. There are no restrictions on time or place. Sneak attacks, stalking, and ambushes are all permitted. The restaurant, the hallway, even the restroom, it's all the same. Anywhere could erupt into a life-and-death fight as if it were an ordinary part of daily life. As long as you take your opponent's ring within the 1-month time limit, that counts as a victory. When the matches are over, only the final 10 people holding 2 rings will be qualified to advance to the third act of the Man Festival. Wan Taeseob bared his teeth in a grin, and goosebumps rose all over his back. He had never expected his opponent to be Jin Yangwei's eldest son, Jin Quenmyong. Jin Heek looked utterly arrogant. Kong Deo, you have to make it to the third act. When the time comes, I'm going to smash you to pieces with my own hands. A guy who only got his life back because of 1 star actually dares to talk this big? I'll lay you out nice and meet right next to your little brother. Throughout the entire venue, the atmosphere began tightening bit by bit. 2 star raised his hand in signal. He had already started getting excited. From this moment on, the second act of the Man Festival officially begins. As his words fell, one person on the spot was already beheaded. The attacker was as fast as lightning, so fast that no one had time to react. This scene was beyond everyone's expectations. Under the sunlight, that man stood there quietly. Jin Chong-ho, representative director of Taejin Electronics, slowly turned back around. Didn't you just say it had already started? That scene turned the nearby female secretary pale. The staff hurriedly rushed forward to deal with the scene. A man quickly approached. Jin Chong-ho, what kind of vile conduct is this? This hotel is Father's legacy, and the Man Festival is the holy war he personally designated. Are you trying to stain Father's name with this filthy kind of killing? My actions did not violate the rules, did they? And what Father taught us was only how to become stronger, nothing more. Noble big brother, am I right? The atmosphere instantly grew even tenser. How did this guy suddenly just start throwing hands? That madman Jin Chong-ho really did go and cause trouble after all. Everyone was waiting for a chance to draw their blade. As long as one person broke the balance, this hotel would turn into a sea of blood in an instant. Just then, Kong Deo leapt directly to their side. What the hell are you all doing? Are you just standing around reading each other's expressions? Is this guy also Old Man Jin's son? Want to fight me? Huan Taesiab looked full of tension. Why was Kong Deo stirring things up again? The situation was already on the verge of completely spiraling out of control. Everyone was about to draw blood. Choi Cholji suddenly appeared. Mr. Jin Chong-ho, you have already advanced to the third act of the Man Festival. This is contestant Oh Guang's ring. From here on, you may move freely and wait for the third act to begin. Under Kong Deo's baffled gaze, Jin Chong-ho slowly turned and left. You little punk, are you treating me like I'm not even here? That really pisses me off. Everyone was harboring their own thoughts. There were too many people here right now, and it was still not the time to reveal their trump cards lightly. What mattered most at the moment was to go back first and properly work out the next strategy. When the next opportunity came, then they would have another brutal fight. Before long, Kong Deo was actually the only one left in the entire venue. 2 Star walked up to he. Well, is life even more frustrating than you thought? Kong Deo sat on a bench. Isn't it all because of you people? You made everyone exclude me. That's because you started making trouble first. Who told you to beat that Gino Wong into that state? That little punk was the one who provoked me first. Since I already beat one contestant, if you just give me the ring, doesn't that mean I've passed the second act? 2 Star shook his head directly. No, that duel took place before the second act officially began, so it cannot be counted as part of the official results. Everything has its proper procedure, so stop causing trouble. We have our own rules here as well. The crueler the world is, the more strictly its rules must be followed. So I advise you not to keep acting on impulse. 2 Star's words actually left Kong Deo with no immediate reply. Got it. So what am I supposed to do now? Your opponent will be personally arranged by the organizers. We will choose the most suitable person from within the Taejin group. Kong Deo could not help curling up his lips. I thought you people were hiding something big. How about this? Why don't the two of you just come at me together and be my opponents? Aren't you the strongest people in the whole place anyway? Choi Chilji's expression immediately darkened. Kong Deo, you'd better know when to stop, if you dare continue insulting 2 Star like this. But 2 Star gently set his coffee down on the table. Young man, you really are full of energy. No wonder 1 Star and 4 Star have both been paying special attention to you. But do you really think you can beat me? Of course I can. Don't tell me an old man like you is scared, or do you need to reserve a funeral home first? But in the next second, 2 Star thrust a knife into Kong Deo's chest. It's over, and you still dare talk about defeating me. To kill someone, you don't necessarily need the strength to catch a helicopter barehanded. Even a tiny piece of metal can still take your life. You've only fought a few battles, yet you already think you can ride roughshod over an old man like me. A fool like you who only acts on impulse will end up dying without ever knowing why. 2 Star slowly pulled the knife back out. Do you understand now? Just behave and wait for your second act opponent to appear. This old man's speed was absurdly fast. If that toy knife just now had been real, Kong Deo would already be dead. Kong Deo slowly clenched his fist. Old man, thank you. I'll remember those words for the rest of my life. One day, I'll return them to you word for word. In the past, in the urban district of Kowloon, Hong Kong, a huge explosion suddenly thundered out from a building. Then a man jumped out of the building. Not bad. So now you even dare blow up restaurants? Thanks. That one blast actually cleared out all the blockages in my body. Sniping, poisoning, you really do think highly of me, this country bumpkin. A monster like you barged into our territory. But what exactly do I have to do to truly kill you? This commission is turning out to be a total loss. You've already tried 50 times to kill me, haven't you? This is the first time I've ever seen someone as persistent as you. No wonder you're the #1 assassin. Song Jae-gul smiled faintly. Are you mocking me? But after traveling all the way to Kowloon, what exactly are you here for? Have you also started setting your sights on the supremacy here? Did I ever say I cared about the positions of people who are practically dead already? On this land, there is only one thing I truly want, and that is strong men like you. Cold sweat instantly appeared on Song Jae-gul's forehead. Was he serious? He actually wanted to take an assassin who had been trying to kill him and make him one of his own people. Jin Youngwei's gaze turned cold. So what? Any man who has the potential to conquer the world alongside me. I won't let a single one slip away, but I have no interest in becoming his subordinate. As far as I'm concerned, even this world has no room for you. It doesn't matter. If this world has no room for me, then I'll swallow the whole world with my own power. Either way, sooner or later, I'm going to rule the entire world. Two-Star slowly woke from his memories. Did I accidentally fall asleep just now? I'm getting old. My stamina isn't what it used to be. So far, everyone's performance in the second act of the Man Festival had been fairly good. Chulji, what do you think? Choi Chulji felt that those people were nothing but a bunch of brainless fools with strength. Compared to the old men, they could not even touch the outermost edge of Taejin's lowest tier. Two-Star told him not to be so harsh. In truth, when they were young, they were not that different from those people. No one was born complete. Every hot-blooded youth thinks he is the strongest in the world, but the more arrogant one is, the more he should throw himself into this world. To grind, to crash, to accumulate experience. Only by tasting defeat and enduring the pain that growth requires can one truly turn from a clueless brat into a man. You're right. Kang Dao's opponent will be chosen from Jung's team under my command. You only need to sit back and watch this festival unfold. Just watch? Huh? I never thought that before I even realized it. I'd already become an old man who can do nothing but stand by and watch. It really makes me nostalgic. Back then, in my youth, I was full of ambition and fought my way forward all the way. That time of youth is something that can never return. Meanwhile, in another room, a man was kneeling on the floor. Even a single drop of water falling into water creates ripples spreading outward. And at that very moment, this man also sensed danger. Hwan Taesiab smashed through the door and appeared behind him. The man turned around and blocked Hwan Taesiab's strike. Jin Kwanmyung, I am Hwan Taesiab of Busan's Baekdu Gang. Today, I've come specifically to test your strength. You've come a long way. Then let me see with my own eyes exactly what you're capable of. Jin Kwanmyung, the eldest son of Taejin chairman Jin Youngwei, had been raised from childhood as Taejin's heir. He had resolved to inherit his father Jin Youngwei's strength and techniques, and thus was also known as Taejin's strongest monster. For someone as great as the Crown Prince of Taejin to actually be willing to trade blows with a country bumpkin from Busan like me, I'm truly flattered. Facing Hwan Taesiab's attack, Jin Kwanmyung shifted his body and easily dodged it. Hwan Taesiab immediately closed in tight and kicked again. But before he even realized it, Jin Kwanmyung's hand was already pressed against Hwan Taesiab's chest. An inch punch. That strike instantly twisted Hwan Taesiab's expression. But Jin Kwanmyung had already raised his leg again. He calmly spoke 3 words, above the knee, a low sweep kick. This bastard is looking down on me way too much. He actually told me in advance where he was going to hit. And in the next second, Jin Kwanmyung's hand was already pressed against Hwan Taesiab's chin. A left hook, an uppercut. Hwan Taesiab was knocked to the ground on the spot. He struggled to get back up, coughing blood nonstop. Hwan Taesiab, that sneak attack of yours just now was still far too straightforward. Until you've fully seen through your opponent, you should be more cautious to begin with. I suggest you take off those unnecessary accessories. Once a melee starts, those things could actually give your opponent a chance to turn the tables. You can't bring me down just by shouting. If you want to fight for the throne of this world, you'll have to show strength far greater than that. After all, this is a battle with your life on the line. How arrogant. Are you trying to kill me while casually teaching me a lesson at the same time? What the hell is that supposed to be? But precisely because of that, Jin Kwanmyung completely ignited Hwan Taesiab's fighting spirit. To stake my life in a clash against the strongest man, that long-lost feeling has come back. Hwan Taesiab lowered his body and lunged forward fiercely. This is a front slam that drives the opponent to the ground. Is he trying to decide the match with the grappling technique he's best at? But Hwan Taesiab suddenly changed tactics and drove out a flying knee, a rear straight punch, a dipping close-in step. Hwan Taesiab grabbed Jin Kwanmyung's arm with one hand. Then he followed directly with an arm-locking grappling move. His arm coiled around the other man like a pipeline, locking him down tightly. But Jin Kwanmyung was already drawing power into his right hand. That terrifying punch forced Hwan Taesiab to dodge immediately. He had originally wanted to use that move to dislocate the arm outright, but unexpectedly, this guy seemed to have already seen through what Hwan Taesiab intended. Jean Quanmyong's expression also turned serious. Hwan Taeseob had used several feints in a row just now. If he had underestimated him because of his initial performance, this arm would probably already have been twisted off. Hwan Taeseob, it seems you're a wolf in sheep's clothing. So what's next? Boxing? Or are you going to keep using grappling? But Hwan Taeseob kicked through the pillar beside him. He actually chose to use the shattered candlestick pieces to block my view. Is he trying to cut off my vision? And Hwan Taeseob had already circled behind him. Both hands wrapped directly around Jean Quanmyong's waist from behind. Jean Quanmyong's whole body was forcibly lifted off the ground. Then he was smashed hard toward the floor. As the dust cleared, Jean Quanmyong was actually holding himself up with both hands against the ground. This is ridiculous. He actually managed to hold out in that position. I didn't expect that, aside from Boss Kong Deo. There'd be someone else who could do something like this. Using the momentum, Jean Quanmyong directly flung Hwan Taeseob into the air. Then he spun around sharply. At the same time, his rear hand had already fully loaded up with power. An uppercut. That punch landed squarely on Hwan Taeseob's face. Immediately after, he grabbed Hwan Taeseob's necklace with one hand. A right elbow strike. Hwan Taeseob instantly spat out a mouthful of blood. Enough, Hwan Taeseob. You've already lost. Those little tricks are meaningless. You lost simply because you never clearly saw the gap in strength between you and me. Hwan Taeseob had already been beaten into a bloody mess. You really are damn annoying. Even at the very end, you're still thinking about lecturing me. But Jean Quanmyong changed the subject. Hwan Taeseob, are you willing to become my subordinate? Don't throw away your life for a moment of impulse. In the future, I will inherit Taejin's great enterprise, so I need strong men like you. Hwan Taeseob, are you willing? Just as expected of a crown prince who thinks everything through. Jean Quanmyong, I admit that you're strong. Even with everything I had, I couldn't leave so much as a single wound on you. But in the end, you are not the man who will accomplish great things. From you, I can't feel even the slightest ambition to stand at the very top. How could a pampered young master who has never lacked food or clothing since birth possibly understand that? That impulse you see as insignificant is precisely the quality a man destined to reach the summit must possess. Jean Quanmyong angrily raised his fist. In that case, I respect your choice. The heavy sound of that punch exploded through the entire mansion. What was that sound? Under Jean Quanmyong's fist, Hwan Taeseob had gone completely still. Watching the scene, Lee Donghaya could not believe it at all. Big brother Hwan Taeseob, this is my trophy. Later, take it back with you. Is this cake? But today isn't my birthday. Who said it was for you to eat? I'm telling you to take it to your wife. Isn't today your wedding anniversary? Did you forget who helped you the most back when you got married? Take it back. For the next few days, stay at home honestly. Boss, don't you know? Those bastards from Yongdo District have been dreaming of taking us out for ages. Right now is exactly the moment to announce to the whole world that their Baekdu gang has been established. How could I possibly miss a moment this important? Do I look like the kind of guy who'd turn his back on loyalty? Hwan Taeseob sighed. Loyalty? You idiot. Don't you owe loyalty to your wife too? You risk your life out there every single day. But have you ever thought about how your wife spends every day worried sick? You punk. Wake up. Life isn't just about clawing your way upward. True loyalty means fulfilling every responsibility you owe to the people who follow you because they believe in you. That's the kind of loyalty a real man is supposed to uphold. And besides, I'm Hwan Taeseob, the strongest in Busan, the boss you swore your life to. How could I possibly lose to someone so easily? But now, Hwan Taeseob lay in a pool of blood without the slightest movement. Lee Donghyuk roared in fury. Jean Quanmyong, I'm going to kill you. But suddenly, Lee Donghyuk's movement stopped. Hwan Taeseob, who had been lying on the ground, actually coughed again. Is Boss Hwan Taeseob still alive? Are you Hwan Taeseob's subordinate? He only passed out. Take him back and get him treated. Your boss is a real man. From you, I can't feel even the slightest ambition to reach the top. After all, how could a pampered young master who has never lacked food or clothing possibly understand such things? Hwan Taeseob, so that's the kind of person I am in your eyes. You really did see straight into my heart with remarkable accuracy. It's true. I don't have that hunger of someone who clawed his way up from the bottom, nor do I have the ambition to rule the world. All I have is the responsibility of being the eldest son. My duty is to protect the empire my father left behind. So when it comes to that devil trying to destroy all of it, Jin Chong-ho, as long as I can deal with him, nothing else matters to me. A person was standing on a rooftop in the distance. I am Jung's unicorn. The first match has already ended. Because one of Hwan Taeseob's subordinates intervened, the ring could not be recovered. But that does not affect the result. I will now report the final outcome of this match. Hwan Taeseob versus Jean Quanmyong. The winner is Jean Quanmyong. Hwan Taeseob is eliminated in the second act.